Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
Time after time, I tell myself that I'm so lucky to be loving you. So lucky to be the one you run to see in the evening when the day is through. I only know what I know. The passing years will show. It kept my love so young, so near. And time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving you. The passing years will show. It kept my love so young, so near. And time after time, you hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving you.
Hey there, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you doing? It's been a long time.
Yeah, not long enough. No, I'm just...
Oh, you are such a butt. Okay.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Been a
I'm
while.
good, Brian. Yeah, it has been a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, so I wanted to, by the way, our my illustrious co-host, the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver of Beans, was not invited today because he's not needed. No, I'm just joking. Dastardly fellow. No, it's because I just basically want to go over a story with you that I'm going to be including in my book because it kind of relates to you and I, and you would rather talk about it than I can just decipher what you're talking about through this video, or whatever, refer to it. So what the subject that I wanted to refer to, and by the way, anybody watching this, you're more than welcome to watch, obviously. I mean, who am I to tell you not to? But yeah, we're just going to be discussing, like I said, a subject that I want to include in my book that relates to Kevin and myself, and it's about shape-shifting actually into people, right?
Yes.
Which I've experienced, and but your experience really like put the cherry on top and tied the bow on top, so to speak, because it's just undeniable, in my opinion, because you took it up a level. So what did you want to be?
They took it up a level. I was just a wonderful beneficiary of it.
Yeah, but nevertheless, your experience added credibility to all my experiences, and told me something we pretty well already knew anyway, but it's just kind of like verified it.
Right.
So you wanted to actually go back prior to this. So what did you want to begin? So, and we can have a discussion and whatever too, and bounce ideas and our thoughts off each other too. You just don't have to tell me the story. We're going to discuss it, but I do want to hear where you want it to start.
Right. So to me, it does, the actual event itself doesn't make sense in a vacuum, to me anyway. And I don't want to just tell it and have everyone take on faith, even though that's kind of what they have to do anyway, but I want them to listen to the whole story and the way things escalated with my Sasquatch clan. And it culminated in this amazing experience that actually two experiences on subsequent days.
Okay.
In my woods. So I know I've told my story here a couple of times, so I just want to back up a little bit and just say my clan has been interacting with me for probably about 5 years now, maybe 6. I don't know. I've lost track of time. And it's been a progressive introduction. I started out not even knowing what woo was. I just kind of figured they were, completely physical beings, and they just were very secretive and lived in the woods, and they had no abilities that would be different than ours and all that. So, but progressively over time, what happened was they started me out slowly, and then they added a couple of things on a fairly regular basis. One of those things was greeting me when I went into their home, their interaction, where I interacted with them most, with a floral aroma that was really quite intoxicating. And what would happen is I started to take this trail to a lake near my house, and it's about a 3.5 mile hike. So I started using it to stay in shape. And so I would go multiple times during the day. So I would do like anywhere between 1 and 3 trips in and out to the lake. So the trail itself is about a little over a mile and a half long. And this floral aroma would greet me sometimes at the very beginning of the trail, sometimes midway in the trail, and sometimes, towards the end of the, just at varying places where there were no
Random.
flowers.
Just
Yeah, they were
anywhere.
random. There were no flowers, and
Can you
definitely.
describe? Let's back up a little bit so we can kind of add some context to this. So what was the fragrance like to you?
Oh, it is hard for me to describe a fragrance. So I also want to say that I don't have a sense of smell, and I can't smell my wife's perfume. I can't smell lotions. I can smell coffee on occasion, but generally I don't have a sense of smell. So it's actually kind of shocking to me when I get something that says, "Oh, hey, that smells really good." So this sense of smell, that this aroma was very floral, and it wasn't like a really light spring type. It was a heavy floral, and honestly, it hit me physically, like right in here, right? Not just behind my eyes, and I don't think it was pineal gland, but it may have, I don't know. And it was, at first it just confused me, because was there something there? Wasn't there? I had no idea that the Sasquatch could do this. So it brought more questions than it did anything else. And I just thought my physiology was kind of going wacko.
How long ago was this?
This
you first started experiencing the floral fragrance?
(2018). No, 2017.
Yeah, were you already aware of my story with
yes,
my female? Because
no, actually, you and I have been friends since about 2000 or late 2000. No, actually before 2016, and we had talked. So actually, let me go back. I had started getting the floral aroma back towards the end of 2016. And you and I had shared it with you because I didn't know what it was. And that's when you told me about your experience with the female member of your clan, Royce, is that her name?
Royce.
Yeah, Royce. And you shared that floral experience, and that actually that's actually what cued me into the idea that, oh, maybe I'm now interacting with a female Sasquatch in my clan, and she's just letting me know she's there. And then I started to hear more about other people experiencing aromas that weren't so pleasant, kind of skunky, not so. And then it occurred to me that perhaps this was "I'm glad to see you" greeting, and as opposed to get out of my space.
Yeah, let me just comment on that. First of all, my female Royce, it was a very pleasant floral fragrance. I describe it exactly like you. And the first time I smelt it, it was so strong, and I was the only one who really sensed it. I was with a group of 3 people. Nobody else really sensed it at all, because it was specific for me. Like I've said, they can give you any sensory, auditory, or visual kind of experience they want, and it can be just for you. But I found out, and I think in retrospect, that it was so strong, my nose was burning, my mouth was burning, my eyes were watering. It was like that strong, but it was still pleasant. Right. And approximately a week later, is when I had my love zap experience. That was also from Royce. So I think it was some kind of initiation. Something was preparing me for what I experienced. So I think it's interesting that they smelt both the same to us. And was there any kind of increase in your interaction with this female after you initially smelt it?
Very much so. In fact, what began as a fleeting, like, barely noticeable floral aroma, and then it disappeared. Became a over a period of about probably 6 months, 8 months, probably about. It went from the fleeting sense to a very strong presence that not only had the floral aroma, but there was, and it's hard for me to describe this. I don't know what kind of words to use to describe it if you've never experienced it, but there was kind of an energy that went along with it. And it wasn't an overtly, it wasn't like a sensual or loving or romantic type loving energy, but it was a peaceful, loving energy that went with it. And it wasn't so strong. It was a fantastic experience. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
and
but what I wanted to say though, but I want to clarify this. Did you start having more serious interaction with this particular female?
Yes.
Once you were introduced to that?
Yes.
I'm just trying to make a correlation between my experience and yours, right?
Yes. And so I kept getting a name. And so now I kept getting a name in my head. And this was before really mind speak. I had received any sort of mind speak that I knew of, because they're really good about sneaking that in. But the name Talitha kept coming to my mind. Now, I don't know whether that's her actual name, but I think it's a name that she wanted me to call her. And so I just started to lovingly refer to her as Talitha, and that's how you and I went back and forth. And she didn't seem to mind it at all. So Talitha started to visit. So I live in the middle of this clan's territory, and so they visit. As strange as this may sound, and as unbelievable as this may sound, they started to visit me at my property, at my house. There are woods that are literally 10 feet from my garage on one side, and right behind my house, 60 feet from my back sliding glass door. And they would come visit me with hoots and owl hoots and owl calls. It'd be like 2 900-pound owls calling back and forth. There would be eye shine in my woods. There'd be when my dog died, I carried her out to the lawn so she could have fresh air while she was passing, because she was having a hard time breathing. And they actually, it was at night, they joined me in the woods next to my house, and they were actually moaning and grieving with me, which was astonishing to me, and I felt so honored. So the interaction with Talitha got to the point where, so I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. I grew up in a household that was physically, emotionally, and psychologically abusive. I don't think they view it that way, but that's just, when I started to get healthy, I learned how much damage had been done, and but I'd never been able to heal from it. And I used to sit in it's like a brown leather recliner, and Talitha would come, and I recognized her energy, and she would announce herself. She would visit me at my house. My recliner was located right next to my back sliding door, and you and I would be having conversations, and she would be listening in. I don't know if you remember this.
I do. I could feel her energy too.
Yeah, and it was. So,
as a matter of fact, Kevin, didn't I actually say? And I'm not saying you didn't feel her before me or whatever, but was there not a number of occasions when I said she's listening in or whatever, and then you verified it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And she monitored. I don't want to say monitored, but she listened in for a long time, as did a couple of other members of my clan. I call them my clan, because I really felt like they had adopted me. It was really it was a good feeling. Anyway, so I'd be sitting by the back door, and all of a sudden I would feel this warm energy absolutely surround me. And the floral aroma would come and hit me. And she would, okay, and this is going to sound really weird, but she would start doing something with my head, like energetically, in my brain would, it was almost intoxicating. What it turns out is she was doing a healing on my trauma centers, right? From my amygdala, which was always triggered, and I was always in reaction mode. I was hyper vigilant. No trust, always in fear. And she literally did this for probably 3 or 4 months. And it was concerted effort. And this is actually what led up to me meeting her in person as a human. And the only way I know that is because she had made me so familiar with her energy signature and her floral aroma. I mean, and I come to find out this is very accurate. They each have a very distinct floral aroma that they will give you, and it's just for you. Just like you were saying, Brian. So
You talking about females or males as well?
Oh, the males as well. In fact, so they've been in my house, both the males and the females. The male, I don't know how he fit personally. He was in here energetically, and he was in the middle of my kitchen, and he decided I think he thought it was funny personally, but he let off like a dead skunk smell in my kitchen, like standing in the middle of my kitchen. And I sniffed and again, like I said, no sense of smell, but I sniffed my way around and I identified exactly where he was standing. And I look up at him and I say, dude, you got to tone down that smell just a little bit. You're welcome here, but just tone it down a little bit. I think that he got a kick out of that personally. Anyhow.
Wait a minute. I want to clarify this. I said perfume smell with the males. You never smelled the perfume you smell with the males.
No, they have a different smell altogether.
Yeah.
And actually it goes anywhere from a really, it's wonderful. It's a fantastic earthy, foresty smell that I don't know. I can't. It's not as intoxicating as the floral aroma was for me, but it's hey, I'm here, and just saying hi, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
it ranges all the way from that to there was one guy who I don't know if he was mad at me or just didn't want to have anything to do with me. Maybe I met a crotchety old man from the clan. He had more of a urine smell. There was a urine smell associated with him, and it wasn't super strong, but it was definitely the dominant smell on top of the earthy smell. And then if they either want to mess with you or they don't want you in their area, the bigger men, I think, have the ability to seriously give you that dead carcass, nasty, it's overpowering. Since I don't have a sense of smell, I'd never really been overpowered by a sense of smell before. But the guy in my kitchen, that was overpowering. That made my eyes water in a bad way.
Yeah. I remember early on when I was, the different ways they can introduce themselves to you. Sometimes it's just with the energy. Did you ever get the third eye kind of thing?
Yep.
When I got that a lot initially. Now it's kind of like evolved and something different. And generally when I got that, there would be some kind of like a little rock would be tossed out, or some kind of activity. But sometimes I would get that scent and whatever, and it wasn't always pleasant or whatever, but it was just a whiff. And I think it was just like, I'm here, because there's nothing else really smells like that. So it's right. To me, when I smelt that, it was just letting me know that they were right there beside me, kind of thing.
Yep.
And I agree with you. I don't think, I'm not so sure that they, with all due respect, because we love these people, I don't really think that they generally smell. I think it's it's something that they can just put out there when they want to. And sometimes when it's a god awful smell or whatever, it's just like, we don't want you around here, because generally people, when they smell that, they don't, they don't stick around too often,
Right.
unless it's people who are connected with them, like just general people. So,
well, that's why I think that either the guy who showed up in my house was mad at me and was sending a message, and that's possible. I don't think so. But
now wait a minute. So you just caught scent of it, and then it was gone. And he may have been. So that almost speaks to the fact that he could just turn it on and off at his.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, anybody who's experienced interaction with Sasquatch on a friendly, ongoing basis knows to not draw conclusions, because it's almost unknowable. All you can talk about is what you've observed and experienced, and then try to make sense of it in your own head. But anytime you try to define what they do and try to be definitive about it, you're most likely wrong. And so when I experience something that is an event, like the guy who showed up in my kitchen and gave off this god awful odor, either he was laughing his ass off or he was sending me a message, and I'm not clear which one, and I can't really say. But I like to, whenever I encounter something with my Sasquatch clan, I go at it with, okay, these are the possibilities. They'll tell me which it was eventually, most likely. So anyway, back to the shape-shifting thing.
Is this the preamble or not? I guess preamble. Is this what you wanted to set the story up with?
Yeah, that, and I wanted to make sure that there was an understanding, and I really want to harp on this, that each Sasquatch, each member of the Sasquatch clan has both an energy signature,
oh yeah,
and an aroma that identifies them absolutely uniquely. You can't confuse them. They're just enough different where you go, oh yeah, well that's Talitha. Oh yeah, well that's another young lady over there that she hasn't given me her name, but I know it's not Talitha. There's no energy like Talitha. And
for you,
what?
For you, there's no energy like Talitha,
right? So I wanted to make sure that that's really harped on, that you have to keep that in mind going forward. Mm-hmm. And then you also have to keep in mind that they do mind speak on occasion with me or with people that they want to communicate with. And they're not super chatty with me that I know of, but they have made it clear on occasion that I need to either chill out or be prepared for some upcoming things.
I think they're way more chatty than we realize, but it's generally, and like a lot of it is thought placement and just guidance and just like, because right. Because I totally, I'm out there walking around and doing stuff and I'm being guided all over the place, and they will put a thought in my head constantly and the answer is there. So I think, it's just not chatty verbally,
Yeah, you're probably right.
There's a lot more going on that you have, but once, when it happens over and over again, you get to pick up on what it is. So I just wanted to, before you get into the meat of the story here, sorry for any vegetarians out there for that comment, but you said, so describe, we're going to get into the scent and how it relates to the story, but let's talk about the energy signature or whatever. So you can tell personality and humor and all kinds of stuff with the energy signature, right? I mean, can you talk about that a little bit in relation to some of your guys or your experience or thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. So early on in my interaction with them, they were testing me out to see what kind. I think it was a twofold thing, actually. They were testing out my reactions and my ability to separate my fear from the rest of me. And on one of my trips through their area, and they'd been interacting with me with vocalizations, with actually I'd just been introduced to some glyphs, and I hadn't seen any of them at this point, except for that's actually not true. I saw one early on. I saw a peeker at the top of my a hill that overlooks my yard. She was peeking out from behind a tree, and she let me see her. But that was really early on, and that just piqued my curiosity more than anything else. But I was hiking through their area one day, and I was on my second trip out, and I was tired. I mean, I was really tired, and so, and I tell you this because when I explain the story, you're going to understand. I had a decision to make, and I chose something that most people probably wouldn't have chosen. So I'm walking out of the area in which I know that they hang out in most. I mean, there's an energy in that section of woods that is just insane. So I'm walking along and I hear these stealthy footsteps starting to shadow me in the woods just out of my eyesight. They're probably, at first they were probably 50 feet away. And I kind of got so internally I got a smug, oh, I've heard about this. This is really cool. So they're actually going to shadow me. Well, that quickly turned into, those footsteps went from stealthy following to no longer stealthy and running towards me. Like, you know that they're running. And I had that immediate, explosion of adrenaline in my chest. And I'm wondering, oh my gosh, what on earth is going to happen? This whole thing probably took less than a minute. So the thing's probably now, the guy, it was actually a young male. The young male's probably 20 feet from me max. And all of a sudden, it's like I can see in my mind what's happening. It's like he took off and he jumped and he lands in a pile of branches and he starts breaking huge branches with the snapping sound.
Wait a minute. Let's clarify that. So when you can see in your mind, you're just imagining what's happening, or you're actually kind of seeing a picture of it?
I'm seeing a picture of it.
How does that work for you? That's interesting. I like that.
Well, I don't know if it was accurate, right? Because, okay, I discount that it was them putting it in my head, although they could have. So just to be clear, I don't feel like that was.
You actually see an individual running towards you. You actually visualize what's happening.
I actually visualized it happening. And whether it was an accurate visualization, I don't know. But the picture that I ended up with was a young male standing in a pile of branches, just breaking them up, not angry. I didn't feel any sense of anger or dread, or just they were trying to scare me and thinking it was funny. I'm sure he was laughing his ass off. But now when the breaking of the branches started and it was going, I mean, it was seriously like the 4th of July. It was like machine gun staccato fast. Bam, 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 bam. 10 feet, maybe 20 feet away from me on the other side of a brush that I couldn't see through. And I'm not going to lie, I had a serious adrenaline reaction going on. And so my brain kicked in immediately. I didn't have a fight or flight. I just thought, really, actually, I don't know why, but I went directly into a very rational mode of, okay, what are my options? I'm tired. I'm an old man. I am not going to outrun a Sasquatch. It would be fruitless. Why would I do that? Then I thought, well, I'm not going to defend myself either. That would be just as stupid as running. Maybe I didn't think about this till later. So actually, I immediately thought, okay, I want to talk to him. So I turned around and I faced where the commotion was coming from. And I put my palms out in front of me like this, and I said, and I quote, "Brother, all I want to do is be friends. Thank you for letting me know you're there." And then I put my hands down. I didn't even wait for a response. because I was too freaked out. I turned and I walked as slowly and purposefully as I could up the trail to the top. And so I take it back. That was my first trip in and out, but I was still tired. And I get to the top of the trail, and all the while, of course, it was about a mile from the top where this happened. So I had a whole mile of walking up a hill to think about, oh my gosh, if I had been just patient, I might have had my first really up close Sasquatch encounter. That would have been cool. And but on the other, so I had a lot of conflicting emotion going on inside. So when I went, I forced myself to turn around and make the trek in back to the lake, and then back out to finish out my workout, hoping upon hope that they would maybe show themselves. But that wasn't what their purpose was for this little exercise. They did not make a sound on the next trip through. They didn't interact with me at all. They'd done their thing, and now they were going to observe. And this is actually a pattern with them, with me anyway. So I went back down, and instead of just walking, I'm talking the whole time. I'm to them, because I know that now I know for sure that they're listening in. I hear them, or I don't hear them. They hear me, and they're making judgments about who I am. So I started to pour my heart out a little bit to them as I'm walking through, and that actually helped me process some of the fear. But so I came back out, and again, like I said, it was totally uneventful. I get back home, and I can't, and after letting the fear marinate for a while and having to process it, I couldn't force myself to return to the woods for 2 weeks. I had to process it for that long. And when I did return, I had dealt with the fear rationally, and I'm thinking you had a point that you wanted me to make, and I don't remember what it was now. Anyway, so I dealt with the fear and realized that what happened was that fear was all about me. My reaction was all about me. It had actually nothing to do with them. And when I finally got my head around that and really analyzed where that fear was coming from, I was able to, I actually kind of hoped they would do it again to test me out, because I think I would start laughing because I'd be so excited. Anyway, So what was your original question? I don't remember.
Well, yeah, either do I, but I do. Maybe it'll probably come to me, but I do want to. I did want to make one point on this. So that visual you had in your head, where you visualized it, is that something that you have often, or was it just specific to that incident, or specific to Sasquatch? Is that something you do?
It only happens on occasion. It doesn't happen all the time. And
with them or with other things?
With other things as well. It's like, yeah, it's actually just something that happens out. It's like it's outside of me, and I get this visual of what's happening in terms of a process, in terms of events, and it happens right along with, if it's something I can't see visually, and it's something that elicits like a gut reaction or an emotional response, that kicks in a certain part of my brain, and I don't know, that's just the way it works. Right? It's nothing weird to me. That's just how it goes. I figured everybody did it.
Well, some weird stuff, or some stuff that seems natural to you because it's you've experienced it before, seems just normal to you. But I don't think that's everybody gets that. That's for sure. It seems pretty neat for sure.
Yeah. How accurate it is, I don't know. I just go with it. It's whatever it is. So no, don't remember. I thought I had the question. I don't have it. It was about their interaction or something, or purpose.
Oh,
So I do want to talk about their purposes. So I don't know. My guess, this is the conclusion I've come to for myself. my clan's purpose in interacting with me has been to make me a better person, honestly, to get in touch, get out of my head and the rational fear-based responses that I was raised with, and into my heart, to see things that I wouldn't normally see, right? To view life from a different
to
perspective.
interpret things from a heart perspective instead of a head perspective.
Right. And
Yeah.
while I haven't, I'm not, this is far too ingrained to just turn off. I still get up here sometimes, but I find that I'm way happier if I stay down in the heart area.
Yeah, but I think that we know when we're in our head, and we know that, this isn't, even though we still go there and at times or whatever, and hopefully less and less over time, like that's my experience. But I think that we know when we do, at least we know, no, this isn't the way I should be looking at things or feeling things or reacting to things.
Right.
I've got to get back into the heart thing. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and before they, introduce us to that kind of, living in the heart, love, no judgment, no fear, all that stuff. We didn't even we may have realized that, there was some little voice or the little guy on your shoulder saying, maybe you shouldn't be thinking this. There was something reminding you, but it wasn't as clear and concise as it is now.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. The dichotomy is so clear now.
You're not allowed to use words that.
You what?
Here you go with your big words again.
No, that is just my vocabulary. You deal with it. Anyhow, so are you ready to go on to the next part of the story?
Absolutely. You
All
got
right.
you're the captain of the ship. I'm just trying to interrupt as much as I can.
So yeah, well, good. So once this whole they're testing my fear out, and me turning around and instead of being afraid, overcame my fear and embraced them.
Yeah,
even though
I think that's very common. That's very common. They will test just about anybody's metal that they want to connect with. They did it with me.
Yeah, I think it went a long way.
Yeah,
I think that opened the door to Talitha actually coming in and doing the healing on my head.
yeah. I've always said that they will not interact with us in a state of fear. Like, quickly, just give a couple examples, and because this is a conversation too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I was checking out a structure that they had made, and I was doing it for actually Tom Cantrell. He wanted me to investigate if it was a big giant asterisk.
I love those.
And so I was there and I was looking at it, and this is really, really early on. This is in my first year of connection with them. I was looking at it, checking it out to see if they had in fact brought the pieces in or if they had just bent them over. And I think there was a combination of both, because it was like about 8 pieces in this beautiful structure, and it was amazing. So I'm bent down, looking at it and examining it really, really close. And all of a sudden, and this is the first time I ever experienced this, I got some kind of foreign feeling in my head, some kind of energy feeling.
Love it.
And I didn't know what it was because I'd never experienced it before, but it was pretty intense, right? This feeling in my head, and I'm wondering, what the heck is that? And then all of a sudden, boom, crash. And it was like 2 semi trucks colliding in the woods, like head on, like just an enormous crash. And I actually literally jumped in the air and my glasses flew off, but then I immediately started laughing, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
And said, good one, guys. I wasn't afraid at all, but it was a test of one's mettle and fear, because they won't interact with you past your point of fear, And another big test is when the first time I went camp solo in the mountains, right? Nobody around me, just me and the fire, and no weapons, nothing like that, nothing to protect myself. And that's a test of mettle too. So, and when you pass these tests, the interaction evolves to a different level, or whatever. So they definitely test our mettle. So anyway, continue.
All right. So with all of that said, keeping in mind that the energy signature is unique, the aroma that goes along with each individual is unique, and that they test your metal and have a purpose in interacting with you. Some of it, sometimes it's healing, sometimes it's literally just to make you a better person, because I think they see the potential in each of us, and they want to bring out the best. They want to bring out the way you were created to be. And yeah, I believe we are created. You can call it God, you can call it a frequency, you can call it whatever, but I believe we're created.
They want to introduce us to our true nature, which is part of a collective of everything. Because that's what changes us, is when we're in that vibration, that, we don't have any fear. We just feel love. We don't want to judge. We don't want to hate, all that kind of stuff. And I remember now, I think the question that I wanted to ask you, or I was referring to, but it might be from the last time and you just didn't answer it well. So
it's possible.
That's very possible too. We were talking about their energy signatures and if you can feel the personality and everything in different individuals. Was that it?
Yes. That's what I wanted to say, is that the whole setup with him jumping into the branches and breaking. Like I said, the energy I got from that was there was no, I want you to be afraid. There was more mirth. Mm-hmm. Like he thought this was funny as all get out, and he was having a blast. That's what I got from it.
Juvenile, probably, right?
Yeah, very much. It was a young adolescent male.
Yeah, a young kid playing around.
And he thought that was just fun. Apparently, though, he wasn't supposed to take it as far as he did. He overdid it. That's what I heard. I don't know how accurate that is.
How did you hear that?
So, because I don't get mind speak much, but I have my ways of communicating with my clan. But there are times when I have craved actual words, because that's how I know to interact best. I'm learning how to do the heart thing. I'm learning how to do the other stuff, but I have found my interact. So I'm going to back up even further. My whole background is in rational, logical, scientific thinking. That's my training. That's my education. That was my career. I'm an engineer. So you got to know, I learned to live up here fully. And that's how I communicate. That's how I rationalize. That's how, and they're trying to pull me from here to here. But in that process, that brings up a lot of questions, right? There's that rational mind that needs to chew on things and identify what works, what doesn't, areas that I need to improve or change. And so all that to say, they've given me enough indication that they can talk to others with mind speak. And some people are just sensitive, and I've interacted with people who are just sensitive that way. And I have utilized their skills. Mm-hmm. Because
there's something that came to mind, and I mean, it's not the first time I thought this, but energy, what they've taught me is the universal language. So I have had mind speak. I've had conversations back and forth with them. I've had like just sentences or thoughts, spoken words in my head, but most of it is just an energy, right? An energy confirmation or communication. Mm-hmm. And that, they have always said, and one of the things that, that I'm writing about in my book and my understanding, released in 222. It's my plug. I'm just joking, but hopefully it'll be out this year sometime. I'm not trying to plug it, but is that energy is the universal language, right?
Fully.
So, maybe they're trying to teach us, and, like mind speak is energy, it's thought placement, it's guiding us places, it's words in our head. I think that maybe some of the people that they're not talking as much mind speak to, one of the reasons could be is because they're trying to tell us that there's no words required. It's from the heart, and it's energy is universal language. And they've always told me that even though I don't expect that they would lie to me, what they're trying to say is that words, the written and spoken word, can be misinterpreted,
Totally.
or you know, there's a deception or something behind them. But with energy, when you know how to understand it and can read energy, there's no deception behind it. Like when we feel the loving energy of the Sasquatch people, no one is going to tell me that that's demonic. There's just no
Absolutely.
way. It is so pure and loving and whatever that, you know, you just learn how to read it and you know. So that could be one of the, you know, that's something to really think about, right?
100%.
Yeah. So I probably can totally taken you away from what you wanted to talk about.
I had a point. I don't remember.
See, that's my specialty is
That's not your fault. So
but I've got free reign right now that Mr. Beans isn't here. And by the way, this was just an interview so I can get some subject matter for the story I'm writing about the book. It's not a snub on Mr. Beans.
No, I know.
But because he's not here, I can pretty well run rampant free.
That's awesome.
Without being reprimanded. So
I do miss you, Michael.
Hey, I sent him the Zoom link if he wanted to join. So
let's see, where was I at? Now actually I think I've set it up enough. No, I haven't. I have not set it up enough. So I want to talk about mind speak really quickly, because the first time I received what was clearly recognized as mind speak, I thought that I had inadvertently given away the location of my Sasquatch clan by sharing way too much online. And I thought somebody had gone in there and was almost like they were trespassing. And I got really upset because I went down to my clan's area, and this was fairly early on, I guess. It was within the first year, I think. And I got and I saw someone down there that I thought I recognized from Facebook, from one of our Facebook groups. And I got very upset. I didn't confront the person because, you know, that wouldn't have been appropriate. I mean, it's public land. It's not like I own it.
Funny though, when you get a connection with a clan and you think of it as your area and their area, you really do. I mean, I know myself and Randy Brisson or whatever, we were like, we didn't want, you know, what are you doing here? You know,
right?
We didn't want anybody around, which is wrong, but you just get like that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I was really wrapped around the axle, and I just turned around from my hike, and I realized I just needed to get out of there because I was so upset. And I knew that in that state, they weren't going to interact with me. When I got towards actually, I just got an energy confirmation on that one. In fact, it's really strong. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
So I got to the top of the.
That's it. That's the universal language, man. I just got one now when I said it.
Yeah.
I just got it too.
And I get to the top of the trail, and again, everything in my mind was in turmoil, upset. There was not a positive thing going on. There was no calmness. There was no counter voice in my head saying, "Hey, calm down. It's going to be okay." I was fully triggered. All of a sudden, in fact, I'm still like at this massive energy confirmation. You have no idea.
I think I do. I can see it on your face for one thing. And I got a little bit too, yeah.
And all of a sudden, this quiet little voice in my head said, "Let them have their experience with us." It was calming, quiet, soothing. And it stood me up. It's like, what? You know, it interrupted my upset, if you will. And from the top of the trail back to my house, it's still about a half mile. So with regard to that, hey, all of a sudden it became apparent to me that I have an unhealthy possessiveness over a people I didn't even know existed. you know, a year previously. And what on earth am I doing, kind of a thing.
Back off, dude. These are my guys.
Right. And so then I had to really readjust my thinking to, wow, I've become possessive, and who am I to say who can or cannot interact with my clan? That's not my place. They've chosen to interact. So I had to reevaluate my whole relationship and the way I was going about it.
You know why? Because if that person's there and they are actually got some, you know, there's probably a reason why they're there, you know, and it could be because they want them to be there.
Exactly. And I just realized how selfish I was being and how unreasonable. And I actually had to apologize to my clan because I felt so bad. And I didn't get, and you know, they were really gracious about it. They carried on as if nothing happened. They just continued to help me progress, kept revealing more and more pieces about themselves. And
No judgment.
It was an amazing act of grace on their part, because they could have seen that part of me and how unhealthy that was. And they could have judged me on that and said, ooh, we don't want this at all. But they didn't at all. And I was welcomed back in with loving arms, and the thing was, we got the relationship straightened out in how I viewed it and how I didn't want to view it. You know, I didn't want to be that possessive, crazy person. So by the way, you're on mute. And anyhow, so that was my first really in my mind, really impressive mind speak that happened, because I'd never experienced it in a way that I had realized it before. After I had that mind speak, I realized that in the past it's happened before, but I just didn't recognize it because I recognized the voice.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't mine, but I recognized the voice.
Can I share with you the funniest, a really funny story when I had my first, like, the classic mind speak?
Yeah.
Talking back and forth with, do you want to hear this?
Yes.
This is like like we've already established, mind speak has many different ways of transmission.
Yeah.
First one I had was when I was just walking on the dikes, looking up at the mountains, or I wasn't actually looking up at the mountains, but I got a call from the mountain and go to the mountains. And it was so startling and new that I honestly can't remember if it was a voice or just a knowing, but I think it was, I can't even speculate. Because, you know, I mean, it was just so unusual, right? That it happened so fast that you kind of, anyway, I knew the message was very clear, put it that way, right?
Yeah.
But this will make you laugh. The first time I had classic mind speak, and it was like the same year, I'm walking along and this big, bold, authoritative male voice says, go to the green tank. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm a little stubborn, in case you didn't realize.
Really? No, I've never heard that about you, Brian, or seen that with you.
So I had my heart set. I had a gifting tree at that time that I was heading to, and I was getting all kinds of interaction with them at this gifting tree, just funny, humorous kind of stuff, and just, you know, lessons progressing and whatever, you know. And I really had my heart set on going there. So I started negotiating with this voice. I said, yeah, sure, I'll go there. But first I'm going to go here. Check this out. Then I'll do that right afterwards, right? Well, the lesson here is don't argue with a Sasquatch if you know, but I mean, if you know it's benevolent and you trust the energy, you know, I mean,
right, exactly.
You won't be going with just any old voice that you don't know. But I mean, I know who it was and whatever, and it was Ari in retrospect. So anyway, I started, you know, but it's all new to me, this talking back and forth at that time. This is, like I said, in my first year or so. I'm negotiating with him. I said, yeah, I'll go there in a while. Check this out first. And he got more and more intense. Go to the green tank. And yeah, sure, I'll be there soon. You know, no worries. Went on for quite a while. And then eventually he just kind of gave up, right?
Right.
And I thought, okay, well, I guess we got a deal. I'll go there right after I go to my place. So I'm heading up to where my gifting area is, and it's a place that I've been to dozens and dozens of times, and it's dead simple to find. It's hidden away so that people can't find it, but
Right.
there's landmarks and stuff along the trail, and then I, once I see that, I veer off. Anyway, impossible to miss it. Put that, just accept that. It just there's no way that I could miss it. I've been there so many times. So I walk up to the trail where it's supposed to be, and I look around. I don't see any landmark. I walked up and down that trail about 12 times, back and forth. I even went like 100 yards each way, and it was not there. The area of probably the size of a room was missing, cloaked, whatever they did, it was not there.
Right.
Even the landmarks and some of the things that I knew were around it, like there was a big stump there and a bunch of stuff. None of that stuff was there. So it was totally gone. So then I went to the green tank, and it was the quietest, least energy, no communication time I've probably ever had in the woods. It was absolutely dead silent. in all accords. And so the next day I went back to the other place. It was there again.
Yeah.
So what's humorous is I just imagine Ari said, okay, do what
Fine.
you want, but you ain't gonna find nothing. It's not gonna be there.
That's awesome.
That was so, yeah. I was actually just writing that one up the last day or two for my book or whatever. But yeah, funny, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, I guess we made an agreement, but oh yeah, he had another idea.
No doubt.
And this was the classic, like talking back and forth, like, so.
Oh, no, I picture it, Brian. I can picture you going, no. I'm going over here first. I'll come over there. I will, but I'm doing my thing. And then I'll do your thing. That's not the
It didn't work out that way. Now, I mean, listen, this is 2012 when I first got started, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it was now, or even in 2013 or whatever, it wouldn't have went like that. I know
you just done it. You just gone to the green tank.
And you know what? I'm not even so sure if there was anything waiting for me at the green tank or something wonderful was waiting for me. Maybe it was just they knew exactly what was going to happen, and it was just a lesson.
I say it was your lesson.
Designed to unfold exactly as it did. It could have been both, right? They might have been waiting there for me in the physical. They might have had something there for me, or they might have just been saying, "We know he's going to do this, so we'll show him who's boss, or we'll show him our abilities, or whatever kind of thing." So I'm not sure which way it was, but either one makes sense, right?
It turned out for your betterment. So that's the way I look at it.
Exactly.
You became aware of something. You went, maybe I could have handled that differently.
Yeah.
Hey, can we take a break for half a second? I need to get some water. I thought I had my glass over here, but I can't seem to find it.
Absolutely.
So I'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is, like I said, this is impromptu, and Mr. Beans, if he sees the link, he's welcome to join. But I'm just kind of doing research for a story that I wanted to do with Kevin, because I was connected into this story, and it's about them cloaking as humans. Because as I said, I witnessed them. I'm pretty positive I've seen them in human form, just from the actions of the people or whatever. And usually when they're in human form or whatever, they don't quite look right. They don't act quite right. They don't look right. One time there was these people, and one of the ladies didn't say anything, no matter what we said to her. And she had glasses on, and they were all like this, and they were all broken, and they were showing up all up on top of the hill, looking out at us, or we'd see them veering off the path behind us, and then all of a sudden we look back and they're there like too soon. And even people who weren't in tune with them, like there were two ladies there that day, they said these people weren't acting right. Oh, and actually on that particular day, Randy Brisson actually saw two Sasquatch crossing the road in the exact area where these ladies were. So just a bunch of stuff added up to that conclusion. But the reason I'm talking to Kevin today is because, it was something that I pretty much came to the conclusion that they can do this. But then when Kevin told me his experience, it was like a real big learning moment, because when he explains it, you'll see exactly why I kind of put the cherry on top, or tied the bow on the package kind of thing. So where were we, Kev?
Well, so I think we actually can get to the whole events leading up to them showing themselves as appearing as humans. So we talked about the energy signature, we talked about the aroma, we also talked about mind speak, and all three of them play into this strongly.
Yep.
So probably in May of 2019, was it 2019 or 2020? I don't remember. It was May. So it happened over the course of 6 months. So May of, I'm going to say 2019 because it's immaterial for the story. In May, it happened. I'm hiking along the trail, and as part of my hike, because I do it for exercise, I add a little spur that goes up to a dead end and then back, just to add a little bit of distance to the hike and elevation gain. This is actually the area where they interact with me the most, it turns out. And one day I'm going up this spur, and in my head, clear as day, it says, I get this voice that says, and these are they're words, they're not feelings, these are very clear words: prepare to have your life changed forever, quote unquote.
Prepare to have your life changed forever. Was it female?
Which
or
seemed okay. So that really seemed dramatic to me, because I'm on a hike, I'm sweaty, I'm hot, and I'm not.
Those were the exact words?
Those were the exact words. And
male or female?
Sexless. They were just words. I couldn't have told you whether it was male or female. Didn't feel feminine, didn't feel masculine. Well, those are easy for me to say right now. Anyway, so this is towards the bottom of the spur. Well, the spur, what it does is it curves around and goes up a hill to the dead end. So as I'm walking around this, I just got an energy signature, or an energy.
Oh, you know what? I just caught for the first time what you meant, because I was saying, I remember when you were telling me you would have seen whoever these people were come out, but I missed the dead end part. So, okay.
Oh, no. This isn't that part. This is the first time I saw them shapeshift.
Okay.
So I come up around the bend, and it's all blind, right? So the curve progressively reveals itself as you go around it. And literally not more than 20 feet up this hill, I hear this. I come around the corner, and I stumble on, and my brain is having a hard time making sense of what I'm seeing. I'm hearing the clatter of hoofs on the ground, but my brain, or my eyes, are seeing something that seems to be going back and forth between the biggest deer I've ever seen and something else, which I can only see from the back. And it's running away from me. And I'm hearing what is, I'm hearing all the appropriate sounds as if it's a deer. I'm seeing like a round primate type butt, huge. And then I see a deer, and then I see the primate butt, and then I see the deer butt. And then
it was shape-shifting back and forth?
It was like I had hit a little jog in the Matrix, right? And it was very strange.
Describe that a little deeper. So you were actually seeing like a deer at 1 second, and then it would look like a Sasquatch hindquarters, I guess.
But hunched over, and the way, so the biomechanics.
So wait a minute. So what? Let's really clarify this. So was it the movement that made it look different, or were you actually seeing something different, do you think?
I was seeing two different things at the same time.
Ah. And it kept moving from one to the other.
Yes. And
Wow, nice.
it didn't last very long. And you can imagine the cognitive dissonance that happened in my head. I mean, it locked me up. It was like I rationally cannot understand what I'm seeing. My brain wants to tell me that it's a deer, but it's not a deer. I mean, it was not a deer, but it also wasn't a Sasquatch. But yes, it was a Sasquatch. And so I didn't this, and I swear this is all in preparation for what happened in,
how many transitions did you say?
Oh heavens, I don't know.
Like 3 or 4 times it changed, kind of?
Yeah, but it wasn't. So it happened really fast, Brian. If you were to put a stopwatch on it, less than a second before it was out of sight, and it was moving way too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyhow, that was so once it disappeared, and actually, by the way, this same stretch of trail is where the women folk of the Sasquatch clan hang out, like all along this row. And
hang out.
They do. They hang out. I honestly think that's where they hang out, because that's where I encounter, and not just one, but it's almost like I envision. And again, this is me just envisioning things. It just could be my imagination. They've got little. This is Talitha's spot. This is a younger woman's spot, and here's another. And the reason I know this is because when I got back from the Grand Canyon, I bought them a heart-shaped piece of petrified wood that I gave as a gift. And in response to that gift, it was like I got a greeting, an energy / aroma greeting from like 6 or 7 different places on either side of the trail as I'm walking through. This was the first time back through after gifting them. So they were all expressing their appreciation for this gift. And they were all female. It was all female. There were no males in there. And that made me consider, hold it, did I send the wrong message? Because I want them to know I love them, but not marry them, kind of a thing. So that was an interesting experience. And so that's how I know that's a special area for them. Anyhow, so that was the first confusing place where I actually just had to consider that my eyes were lying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that I wasn't perceiving reality the way I'd been perceiving reality my entire life and considering it true. And that's also when I became convinced that we as humans see what we want to see. I mean, our brains will actually force us to see what we think we ought to see, as opposed to what's actually there. Which it was kind of disturbing for me to actually have that realization, because again, my trainings as an engineer and my observation abilities were, that's the basis of science, is what you observe and then the conclusions you can draw. Well, all of a sudden I had to start thinking I had to chuck that out the window, which went against every grain in my being. So it took me 4 months before they decided to take it a step further and amp it up a notch that I know about. They may have tried to appear as something else and I just didn't catch the clue, which is really quite possible. So that happened in May. Then in August of that year, I had been pretty spotty about being able to come back and forth on the trail. Because things at home were busy. I had some projects to do around the house, and we went on vacations, and so I wasn't as active as I normally was. And so my first day back, so I'd been away from the trail for probably 3, maybe 4 weeks, so almost an entire month. And my first time back on the trail, I was so happy to be back. I walked by a certain area of the trail, and I got a greeting, but it was sort of like, so you're back. That's the impression I got from that. And
what energy?
Yeah, it was an energy aroma greeting, and it was from Talitha. It was,
Yeah.
and so my response to her was, "What? No. Actually, I'm out of order. Actually, that first time back was I felt like I was mugged by her energy because it was so effusive and happy to see me, and it was overwhelming. I mean, it was her aroma was way overwhelming. It was incredible, and her energy was so strong. So
It felt like a happy to see you.
oh, it was a total. You are back. It is about time, kind of a thing.
By the way, I don't want to. Well, I guess I do want to ruin the flow of the story, but
That's fine.
before I forget, and then we'll continue with the overpowering aroma, which was a good aroma. So
Oh, it's fantastic.
how did you get to Lisa's name? How did you get that?
Mind speak.
She just told you her name.
Yeah, but it didn't happen. So here's the thing. I've got voices and I talk to myself all the time anyway. And sometimes I have to ask myself, did I make that up? Right? Because that's always a valid response. I don't accept just any voice in my head like, oh, they're mind speaking to me. No, that's not necessarily accurate. They've got to be very clear and it's got to not match what's going on in my head. So
Right.
Talitha, I think she prompted me and they were very quiet little promptings. They wasn't like, you shall call me Talitha, and this, forefront of my brain, it was like a deep, quiet little Talitha. You whispered in there. And she did that 3 or 4 times. And I still wasn't going to call her Talitha. It was when I shared that with you and you felt like you got an energy confirmation that I needed to call her
I remember
Talitha.
that.
Yeah. And so that's when I started calling her Talitha because I didn't believe my own head. It's like,
Yeah, that's very interesting because when we talked about Talitha, many times we had our conversations, we were both getting like that confirmation energy, approving for whatever sometimes over the content of the conversation, or she's
Right.
listening in. Because I can remember telling you quite a few times she's listening in.
right. I remember, and I felt it too. So it was really amazing. That time in my interaction with my clan I felt like I was on the wildest ride I'd ever been on in my life. And it was so fantastic.
Picking up the pieces of my sweet shattered dream, I wonder how the old folks are tonight. Her name was Anne, and I'll be damned if I recall her face. She left me not knowing what to do. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Carefree highway, you've seen better days, the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Turning back the pages to the times I love best, I wonder if she'll ever do the same. Now the thing that I call living is just being satisfied with knowing I got no one left to blame. Carefree highway, I got to see you, my old flame. Carefree highway, you've seen better days, the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Searching through the fragments of my dream shattered sleep. I wonder if the years have closed her mind. I guess it must be wanderlust or trying to get free from the good old faithful feeling we once knew. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Carefree highway, you've seen the better days, the morning after blues, and I head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Let me slip away on you. Carefree highway, I got to see you, my old flame. Carefree highway, you've seen better days, the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you.
It actually gave me a reason to live.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
had-
so go ahead.
I'd given up before my interactions with my Sasquatch clan. I had. I was depressed from being, losing my mind and losing my career, and I just sat in my chair depressed all the time. They pulled me out. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, that's what they did.
So back to
That big, strong energy when she was excited to see you back after.
oh yes. So that was on my first trip down the trail, and I knew I was going to do 2 trips. I didn't think I could do 3 because that would have been over 10 miles, and I was carrying a pack with about 20 pounds in it, I think. And I didn't know whether I could do that or not. So anyway, it was on my first trip in, and as I get towards about 3/4 of the way down the trail, I get across a creek that comes out of the lake that I go to, and then it makes a sharp dog leg right, and it was right there. I will never forget it. It was the most amazing experience ever. So I stopped, I closed my eyes, and I put my arms out, and I honestly, the only word I can think of is I basked in the energy glow that she was giving me. And I was returning as much energy as I could, and I didn't know whether it was being successful or not. But I was trying, and that was whatever it was. And then that lasted, it seemed like for a long time. It may have only been like 30 seconds or a minute, but it felt like an eternity to me while I was in it. And when it started to subside, I realized, okay, I need to get on with my hike. So I hike on through, and I'm back out, and then I come back. And on my second trip in, this is why it's funny, by the way. On my second trip in, I get kind of like it's you, meh. Like, and I said to her, "What was that? That was weird." And I said it exactly like this. I said, "You mugged me the first time I came in, and now you're just going like, meh. So you're here." It's like, okay. I mean, that's kind of weird. And then I just walked on, right? And it was the next day. Actually, I usually had a recovery day, and then I'd go back again. So it was the day after. Actually, I'm not even saying that right. It's a very confused sentence, so you can probably figure it out.
Within a couple days, you were back.
Right. So I went back down in. And there was no interaction this time, the first trip down. And I get to the lake, and it is, oh my gosh, it is a spectacular summer day. So beautiful. and I'm sweating like a pig. I mean, I'm gross, right? I'm just like, and
That's why you don't have a sense of smell.
yeah, probably. So I'm just really appreciating the beauty of this lake. I mean, it's in the middle of the woods. You can't hear any cars. Occasionally a plane will go over. The only way to get to the lake is hiking. And I was alone as far as I knew, because I hadn't encountered anyone. So I spent like 5 minutes really just appreciating that. I stretched out my legs and I turned around and I started walking back because I knew, again, this is one of 2 trips. As I'm coming back out, I get to the creek that I was telling you about that I have to cross to get to the lake. And as I'm coming, and I told you it's a dog leg right when you're coming out. Well, in coming back down to the trail, it's a dog leg left. And I turn that corner. And as I turn that corner, and again, I've got no aroma, no nothing, no energy. This is just a hike as far as I'm concerned, because none of the clan has made any sort of motions that they want to interact with me today, which is fine. That happens. I don't need an interaction every day. I mean, it's nice and all, but they have life to live. I know they do. And so anyway, I come around this corner, and as I'm coming around the corner, out from the woods, so across the creek, you can't see the trail. So the trail kind of bends away from your line of sight, and it's got all sorts of foliage that you have to come through to get across the creek. So you can't see what's back there. And that's actually, incidentally, the same part of the woods that has that really fantastic energy I was telling you about. So I come around this corner, and all of a sudden, this kid between 3 and 5 years old comes wandering out of the woods alone. I mean, my eyes went up because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I will admit, and it wasn't right, I was judgmental at first. Like, what parent is stupid enough to let their little kid wander around, and there's cougars around, there's bears. This is stupid. There's nobody who's going to just let their kid wander around, because literally there was no one coming out of those woods right behind him. Hold it. Actually, first it was the dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that. I was wondering when you said that, because I do recall you said a dog came out followed by a kid.
Right. It was the dog. So this dog comes out, and he's not on a leash. And so, of course, I'm never afraid of dogs, because I usually have a really good vibe with them. And I wasn't afraid of this dog, but I was wondering how it was going to be, because the dog didn't look right. He was kind of scruffy, didn't have a collar on. And I thought, well, it could be a wild dog, or, maybe a dog that slipped its leash. I don't know. So I'm looking at this dog, and usually, like I said, dogs and I kind of have an affinity for each other. This dog wanted nothing to do with me. He starts to cross the creek, and he looks at me once, and then he looks away, and he won't look at me again, which is weird, right? It's like he's going to walk right past me and not sniff me, not give me the time of day. And that's not normal dog behavior. So first off, and so I'm just thinking to myself, okay, well, that's odd. And that's all I thought. I didn't think anything more of it. And then literally 20 feet behind the dog was anywhere between 3 and 5 years old. It's a little boy. He comes wandering out of the woods. Again, he looks at me and he looks freaked out. His eyes are like saucers. And I'm going, well, this is odd. And so I'm aware that I am a single male on a trail, and that can be scary to kids. And so I didn't want the kid to be scared, but I'm a dad, and my compassion, my protector instinct kicked in, and I wanted to talk to this kid and say, hey, where's your mom and dad? But I didn't, because I didn't have a chance. Because again, I'd actually kind of stopped at the edge of the creek at this point. And so as I'm considering what my next action is with the kid, And by the way, to describe this child, it's like he'd never had his hair cut, his long hair, kind of wavy brown, and he was in pants and a shirt, and I don't remember whether he had shoes on or not. And he was very simply dressed. It's not like he had any belt so basically he looked like I hate to say it, looked like a poor kid, which is not unusual where I live. But I was still, like I said, considering what am I going to do? What do I ask this kid where his parents are? And so I'm looking at the woods expectantly behind him, thinking those parents going to show up any second, hoping. And it seemed like, again, it's like they were spaced at 20-foot intervals, because all of a sudden out of the woods walks Talitha. And I'm going to say Talitha, but what I saw at that point, though, was she was a fairly attractive young woman. Long brown hair, t-shirt, pants, jeans, and a pair of tennis shoes. And inside, I just went, okay, the kid's not alone, the parents there. But then I started, again, I'm aware I'm a single male on the trail, and I don't want to give this woman any sort of pause that I'm because I didn't realize it was Talitha, right? I didn't want this woman to have any pause that I was a threat or that I was going to harm them in any way. And so I smiled, and she smiled back, and I started to cross the creek, and then out of the woods came a man. Just put it this way, I put this all together afterwards, and whether I've put it together correctly or not, and the conclusions I've drawn, I don't know. But a man walked out of the woods who was about Talitha's age, and he was slightly taller than me. I'm 5'10", and he was well built, thickly. He wasn't like abnormally huge, but he was, he was a stocky, well built guy, and he was a good looking guy too. So I mean, it was a good looking family. They were a very attractive family, and he actually he didn't look at me. He never acknowledged my existence on this part, right? And I'm thinking to myself at this point, I don't have to worry about how I'm being perceived, because there's a male here with this group clearly. And so she's not going to worry about me being some psycho stalker out in the middle of the woods. So again, like I said, I smiled at her. I had my eyes on him. And like I said, and I'm looking right at his face. He's wearing a baseball hat with a flat bill, and he's also dressed really simply. But I mean, their outfits are complete. It's not like they weren't complete outfits, and they just looked like they were a poor family that was out for a hike. And I was glad, right? Because it was a beautiful day, and I was glad they could enjoy it. Anyway, so this guy walks out of the woods, walks by me, and there's energy. So now I'm going to go back to, once I saw the guy and I let my guard down inside about how I was being perceived, etc., and that this person, they weren't viewing me as a threat, I started to evaluate the energy of the situation. And it seemed it was off. It was like there was a pregnant pause on the whole world. Like I was like, whoa, I don't get this. I don't feel like the energy that I'm feeling right now or receiving matches what I'm visually seeing. It was really similar to the energy I felt with the deer/Sasquatch when they told me my life was going to change forever. And so I keep walking, and I'm evaluating this energy as I'm walking, and I'm going, wow, this is just weird, right? And so, as is my wont, I didn't draw any conclusions from it at the time. I figured they were a family unit, and I stuck it into that little spot in my head that said, it's a data point, kind of weird, but not so weird as to merit much further my attention.
Can I ask you one question quickly?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you never addressed this when I talked to you. When they came out at 20-foot intervals.
Yeah.
20, when they went onto a path or something.
They were on my trail. They were on the trail.
Okay. When they got on the trail, did they still keep the distance, or did they come together?
They never came together.
What?
They never came together.
They were all walking like 20 feet.
They walked single file with a separation in between each one.
That's weird.
Right. That was weird. So
I don't think you've ever said that before. That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, you caught that as a detail that I hadn't really thought about. Is that they didn't? So they
No, but I mean, you would take a family with a little kid, and once they hit the trail, they're all going to sort of come together in some way. But it was just like they just kept the line going. And
think about it like this: they came out of the woods down to the shore or down to the bank of the creek. They didn't wait for all of them to group together, which is what most humans do.
Yeah.
Right. At all. And I hadn't really thought about this detail, but they didn't. The dog didn't even wait. The dog just went right through. The kid right through, because in August, that creek is at a really low point. You can just walk across it without looking weird. And the woman, Talitha, didn't wait for the man, and the man just kept his distance, but he was walking. It's like, okay.
I think the most weird part is the kid.
Right.
Keeping the distance. I mean, none of it really talks to me about normal human behavior.
It gets better.
Oh, I know.
All right.
But you never mentioned that part before, and I was just thinking,
That's a good point, though. I'd never really thought about it, but you're right. So I passed them there, and by the way, there's only one way into this lake and one way out. I'm going to see them again if they're coming out of that trail. So I continue my hike up to the top. It's totally uneventful. I don't have any interaction. I'm actually not even thinking, actually, that's not true. I need to bring this up. So when Talitha passed me, I did get a whiff, and it was a very fleeting, faint aroma of Talitha's flower smell.
Did you pick up on that was her, right?
Well, okay, I thought it could be, she's just, because this is also the area that Talitha tends to greet me when I come in.
So you thought it might just be Talitha in the area.
Right, exactly. Turns out it was.
Yeah.
So I walked to the top of the trail, still kind of, when I encounter energy like that, I become a little bit disoriented in my head. It's not huge, but I felt disoriented afterwards. And so I just walked to the top of the hill, and I'm not really even mulling it over too much, but I'm just not all there. Get to the top, turn around, go back for my next trip through. And again, it's uneventful. I don't see them on the trail at all until I get across the creek, and I'm right on the downward path to the lake. And then they come walking around the lake path, or the path coming up from the lake. And it's the exact same order. The dog, a space, the kid. And again, the kid seems a little bit more confident now. He doesn't seem like he's so freaked out, which made me feel good. And again, the dog doesn't pay me any attention whatsoever. None. So then the kid goes by, and the kid again doesn't look me. They don't look at me. They just don't. The kid and the dog don't even look at me. Then Talitha comes walking up, and she giggles, and she said, and she reads my shirt. The shirt I used to go. It was my favorite hiking shirt because it's really soft and really lightweight. It says Dr. Pepper on it. And she said, "Oh, Dr. Pepper." And she giggled again. And then she kept walking. And when we passed shoulder to shoulder, there was not more than 6 inches between us. All of a sudden, the aroma, the floral aroma and the energy, it was like, bowl me over, that's Talitha Strong. She is either right here standing with me or that is her. And before I really even have a chance to really evaluate what's happening in the energy of the situation, the man comes walking up. And again, I'm looking at him in the face because I can't read him. I get nothing from him. As we pass shoulder to shoulder, and I swear to you, he growled at me. Like, not a happy growl, right? Like a keep your distance, buddy. It was like, what? I don't get this. Well, there's something I didn't tell you about. On the day that Talitha like mugged me when I had first come back, after that mugging, I came back out, and as I'm leaving the woods, a place where I know they keep their sentries, I was huffed at. And it wasn't a positive energy huff. It was a disgusted. So I don't know what was happening. I think that was Talitha's husband or mate or whatever you want to call him. And I think that he was expressing to me before this ever happened that he was not in support of what was going on. And then when he growled at me, that just really
He pretty much told you he wasn't in support.
Right. And I've apologized to him since, by the way.
Any response?
Not really. I mean, the clan, the nature of my relationship with the clan changed significantly not long after that, because I think that he decided that he really wasn't going to let Talitha interact with me anymore. Just a minute. What do you want? You're okay. My dog is very upset for some reason. You know, you're fine. Anyhow, so I wish I could show her to you. It's hilarious. So I'm sure you can imagine how confused my mind was right after this happened, because there's a lot of events to process all in a row, things that don't make sense, things that don't match the pattern, but they're close enough to the pattern of how I view reality, or how most of us view reality, that I shouldn't have any there were no alarm bells necessarily, but there was like, things aren't working. My brain is not perceiving this right. I finished my hike. Oh, and that's the other thing. So they're walking towards the top of the trail, and it's a family. And I'm down at the
by the way,
Hmm?
when you seen them the second time, were they still had that distance between them?
Yes.
See, that doesn't make any sense.
No. So I get down to the lake, and they're on the trail like they're going back out to their car or back out to the top of the trailhead. And they've got a kid with them, and I know with all certainty that I'm going to catch up to them, because I'm going to turn around and do my final lap out. And I literally never saw them again. And I was booking, right? Because I was motivated, because I suspected that it was that it was Talitha, and I suspected that I had just experienced something that was really special. And I wanted to get some sort of a confirmation again, like encountering them again and trying, because you make sense of things more and more as you are exposed to them. But again, I didn't see them at all. Nothing, no evidence, nothing. So I get to the top of the trail, and I'm shaking my head, because like I can't tell anybody this, because they're going to think I'm insane.
You told me,
Well, that's
but because you know I'm insane. So
we're both insane, so we're good. So
Yeah.
that's what I did. Is I came home and I got online, and you happened to be online. I said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this," and that's when you said you helped me come to the conclusion that it was probably human. I mean, that was probably Talitha and her family.
was that the first time that I had introduced you to the idea that I had
Yes.
seen them as people before, or I strongly suspected?
Yeah, you never shared that with me before until I told you that story and told you what I suspected.
Well, there was two great things that happened there. I verified for you that it was authentic,
Mm,
and you verified for me that what I had experienced was either authentic or at least possible. Because when you told me about Talitha's perfume or whatever, I mean, I could come up to no other conclusion other than definitely that was her.
oh, it was
And
in her energy. It was in her energy.
Yeah.
Right. Because it wasn't just the aroma, it was the energy, and it was like she gave me a blast of it. It's like, okay, you're stupid because you're not. She could tell I wasn't getting it. And then she made it so that there was no way I could misunderstand. So
Give you a whiff the first time, second
Right.
time. Listen, dummy, don't you know who this is?
Right. And so then the next time I went through, I was, at this point, I don't know what to expect, right? Because so many strange things have happened. So I'm just taking it for whatever it is, whatever
Are
kind.
you going to another day now?
Yeah. So
Let me interject in here for a second. Well, I have this on my mind. So I'm getting, obviously, that Talitha arranged this. The other three were not all that enthusiastic about it. So it was her plan. Definitely.
most definitely.
The other thing is do you know if they have any children? Do they have 2 children by chance?
And this is something I suspect, and this is what I've been told by someone who has the ability to have mind speak, that Talitha gave birth to another child that the Christmas after this happened.
Okay.
Maybe January. And I think that the dog wasn't a dog, and the
Well, I don't think
kid,
any of them were what they appeared to be.
my
Okay,
understanding
but my
is that,
question is, who do you suspect? We know the husband was the big guy.
right,
We know who Talitha was, but who do you suspect the dog and the little kid were?
her kids.
So she did have 2 kids at that time.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I don't know that for a fact. She's never really confirmed it for me with an energy, aroma, or signature, but I can tell you that based on what I know now, it also could have been another one of the really interesting little forest beings that are out there.
Could be.
And
I'm just trying to visualize that negotiation. Hey guys, we're going to walk by my friend today, and we're all going to impersonate humans. And we're going to what?
right,
I thought, husband, I don't even like that guy. What do you mean?
right,
He must have had
Right.
some influence over him to get him to go along with it begrudgingly.
right. And it was. I'm so absolutely certain it was begrudging, because it takes you. I don't know about you, but it takes me a while to reevaluate events and put them together in a way that actually is reflective of reality. Because I'll come to maybe some initial conclusions that seem to be okay, but then I start looking at the details and saying, well, that doesn't really fit with the conclusion I came to, so I need to reevaluate. And if I put the huff together with everything else and then the growl, yeah, he wasn't happy with me.
No. What
And
was
not
me?
even
Yeah.
not even willing to make eye contact with me. Whereas Talitha
It's like, like,
Talitha and I locked eyes. We were just eyeball to eyeball. And then I felt bad because I thought,
was there a feeling when you locked eyes? Did you sense anything when you locked eyes?
I got a thrill, but I didn't understand what that meant. And when I say thrill, I mean, it was like energy shot up from my spine to my head. And it was like, wow. Right. And,
Oh.
but the thing was,
Is that top of it? Is that just like there's a nice looking woman walking by, that kind of, or is there something?
No, No, it was something different. But the thing was, I didn't want her to get the idea that I was, objectifying or ogling her in any way, because I wasn't. That wasn't the intent. It was more along the lines of, you ever see, I know you've seen stuff and you just can't look away. That's what this was. It was like, my eyes, I'm sure my eyes were like huge, because it just wasn't making sense. It wasn't right.
Yeah, I can imagine what the guy said when they got back. He had the hots for you, and damn it, I told you this wasn't a good idea.
Right.
You're never going to see him again.
So I had the exact same kind of thing happen 2 days later. I was on another of my double hikes in and out, and my first time out, so I had already gone in, it was uneventful. On my way back out, I encountered another very strange. Okay, so let me go back and tell you, I want to remind you that on the Talitha appearing as a human and the dog and stuff, I was really judgmental about them not having, before I realized that I think that it was Talitha and her family, I was judgmental that they didn't have their dog on a leash and it didn't have a collar. And those were my thoughts. They were loud thoughts. I know they were loud thoughts.
Well, I'm glad I never had invited you up here, because I quite often didn't have my dogs on.
I don't put my dog on a leash either. Actually, this is before I had Hope. When I had, this was when I stopped taking Grace into the woods, because Grace, she would bolt. She was the kind of dog that never learned or would obey, even no matter what, any commands to stay with you, right? So I couldn't train her to heel. She wouldn't do it. The minute you open the door, that dog was gone. So I was heavily in the, you got to keep your dog on a leash mode at that point. Now that I've got Hope is great. She never leaves my side for the most part, or lets me get out of her sight. And I never put her on the lead on the trail. So, I was just being judgmental. Anyhow, that plays into what I saw 2 days later. So I'm coming back out, and for some reason I keep changing the focus of my camera. So I'm coming back out of the trail, and I encounter a young woman. She's probably in her 20s, and she's got 2 dogs. And they both have collars and leashes on. And one of the dogs looks very much like the dog that I saw the day before, or the 2 days before. But then the other dog was the most magnificent dog I've ever really laid eyes on. He wasn't big. He was just regal. He was kind of a border collie mix, looked like, but the same kind of scenario played out though. Neither of those dogs would give me the time of day. Had absolutely no interest in interacting at all. And I started to, when I realized that, and that things seemed a little bit off, because again, I felt the energy that was just kind of weird. And again, I'm a single man and I'm meeting a single woman in the woods. I don't want her to think I'm, again, some kind of weird wacko. So I complimented her on the dogs, and she giggled, and we kind of, talked about nice day for a hike kind of thing. And I told her, so I use this hike as a workout, and I'm going to go back up to the top of the trail and come back through one more time. So I just don't want you to be concerned and think I'm some weirdo. And she goes, oh, you're fine. And she turns and starts to walk away. And so I turned after I passed her, and she continued on her way. And by the way, the place where I saw her was just past the area of the trail where those woods are with all that fantastic energy. So after I passed, because of the events of the 2 days prior, I'm thinking to myself, this isn't right? This is just like the same thing. So I turned and I looked, and she turns, she looks at me, and she grins, and she continues on her way. And so I continue to the top of the trail. Again, one way in, one way out. I come back down. She's gone. Nowhere to be found.
Hmm.
There was no, and the thing with her though, there was energy, but no floral aroma.
And she had 2 dogs.
She had 2 dogs, and those leashes and those collars looked spanking brand new.
Well, she couldn't convince hubby to come that time.
I don't think that was Talitha.
Oh, you don't?
No. There's another young woman that so after Talitha backed off, that's the young woman who started to interact with me the most. And she never gave me the same kind. It was a different floral aroma, different energy. She never did any sort of love envelope or weird stuff like that. She's the one that I actually gifted the heart to. Yeah, so those are my 2 experiences, and they were pretty surreal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I take away from it is, like I said, I suspected, I was pretty darn sure, just because of the circumstances and the way the people looked, and just the bizarre nature of what happened, that they could shapeshift into people. I knew for sure animals, ravens and owls and deer and stuff like that. I've had some definite proof moments for me that they can do that. But when I talked to you, and then you put the floral perfume to it, and and then the guy growling or whatever, that was like, okay, this is really confirmation. This is no question. I mean, and anybody, and I know you never exaggerate. We both respect them too much to ever exaggerate.
Oh, absolutely.
Or anything like that. So I know that what you're saying is 100% true. So, it's, in my mind, it's a fact. They can shapeshift into people, and that's a really amazing, revelation to me. There's just no question about it.
What changed? You'd think that experience is what would have changed my perception of who they are as a people, and that isn't the case. I didn't realize that I still had like some racial superiority thing or human superiority thing going on in my head. What they allowed me to do after that experience was they showed me where I saw them as lesser, as a people. And it was when they set up kind of a like a scavenger hunt, if you will, for me to find a gift they had left for me, in addition to some writing that they'd inscribed on a tree. And then me taking the video of the huge clan leader, male Sasquatch, watching me as I discovered it. That's when with a little being alongside of him. That's when I realized that they were setting things up to observe my reaction. They were giving me little treats along the way to say good job. I felt like all of a sudden, holy cow, I'm the rat in the maze. They've turned the tables in a huge way, and I'm okay with it, don't get me wrong. But I had to actually, that pointed out to me that I wasn't sure how I felt about that at first. And it really unsettled my sense of my place in the universe, right? I'm long since past that, by the way, but it took me a little bit of time to get back in the woods after that too, because it's not that I was afraid that they would ever hurt me, because I'm not. I mean, if they wanted to, they could have a long time ago, and they've done nothing but watch out for my best interests and help me to develop as a person. Shoot, there's nothing evil about them. Yeah, you can have a fear response. You can do things that'll turn them off, and they have the same kind of, loyalty and care that we have, right? They are fully equal to us on every front. Plus, they've got some abilities that we do not have. And maybe we can have them, but the way that we view reality and have set up our society, and we've made it so that we don't, quote unquote, need that.
My understanding is that they don't have any abilities that we did not once have. And if you notice that people who have a really strong connection with them, they start developing some of these abilities again. Like, like my stuff with me has gone off the charts since I've known them, like
Right.
predicting what's going to happen, like, like precognizance,
Right.
all kinds of, the healing thing, energy. It's just like crazy. So, I mean, I think that they are introducing us to that kind of stuff too as we go along, right?
Oh, I think so too. Because I know that when Talitha was doing the energy work on my brain, like it's like reorienting the trauma centers or whatever, I was experiencing huge increases in precognition and just literally knowing things before they were going to happen, just seeing it clearly in my head, and things playing out exactly as they actually end up playing out. So.
Yeah, one example of that is I was listening to the radio to a talk show. Of course, it was on hockey. Canadian. That's all we do, right?
Right. Even
in the protests that I was joined the other day, guys carrying their flags around, it's on wild hockey sticks, right? But I was listening to this hockey broadcast, and this is just an example of, the things that are ongoing and developing and stuff with myself personally, and other people, obviously. They've enhanced and opened up their mind and their potential to these abilities that we had. But I was listening to this hockey broadcast, and I predicted 3 things in a row that they were going to, where the conversation was going, the subjects they were going to talk about. And it wasn't like, like a no-brainer kind of stuff. They're going to talk about this or whatever. It was diverse enough that I knew that I was doing that. So it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your takeaway? Do you have a takeaway or anything from this whole experience, a learning, or any closing kind of thoughts or whatever about it?
So from me, my takeaway really is, it's really that reality is not the way I've perceived it, and that there is so much more out there that we don't know, we don't understand, we can't even see it, we can't perceive it, and it doesn't necessarily even, whatever it may be, doesn't even necessarily want to interact with us because we don't know where to put that. And what I've been striving for is to figure out how to know. So I want to know the truth of our reality, of which I can actually only see 1% of, that I can actually only hear a very small percentage of, and I can't even smell. So I think what my experiences with my Sasquatch clan have done for me is they reignited my excitement and wonder at the world. It gave me a better idea of what creation is in terms of frequency and vibration, and it convinced me beyond all measure that we are never literally alone, ever, that we are surrounded by beings that we cannot see. And Christianity calls them one thing, other philosophies or religions call them something else. And so these experiences have just really cemented my idea of a worldview and reality that doesn't necessarily mesh fully with the way Christianity is presented, or it doesn't fully mesh with the way a lot of New Age philosophies present it, right? So I don't really glom on to any of those as the answer. What I'm going along for right now is the ride, and I'm just taking the ride where it'll take me. And they don't give me, they haven't given me any, okay, besides love is the strongest superpower. They've not given me any deep teachings that they've said you need to give this message to the world. I know that my family thinks that I'm absolutely off my rocker, and I'm okay with that, because questioning your reality is not for everyone, because it challenges the way you've built your idea of how things should work. For me, I've got no vested interest in the way things work. So if it doesn't work that way, awesome. Show me how it does work, and let me work within that framework.
Have you ever been in the state? Because I've been like this a few times, where you were in such a high, because you vibrate, you understand when your vibration goes up and down, you're less judgmental and all that stuff. Have you ever been in the state where you didn't have, you were so connected into everything that you had no questions or the need to formulate them? Have you ever experienced that? Because I think that's the connection thing, really, like it just is kind of thing. Have you ever had that feeling?
Yeah, actually, I pretty much operate. So I think that really goes back to what I was saying. You only have your experiences, and the way I perceive my experiences, I can explain it to myself in one way, but it may not be true for you, right? You may experience something entirely different. It just is. My experiences just are. That's just the way it is. I've stopped drawing massive conclusions, because I think most people. So,
but hold on, I'm not talking just about conclusions.
No, I know. I want to go back.
I'm talking about like no hate, no judgment, nothing. It's just.
Yeah, I fluctuate there, but I know how I felt that. Yes, I have experienced that, and I fluctuate. But I also want to talk about the other thing they've showed me is ego. Ego has no place in this.
No.
If you want to really sit at the feet of the masters, and when I say the masters at this point, I'm talking about my Sasquatch clan or other people, you can't come in there and think, oh, I'm special, right? You can't think that way, because that's not what it is. You are special, but you're special in a way that is very specific to you, what you have come here for, and how on track you are. So just for me, I didn't used to really adhere to the idea that there was such a thing as reincarnation. And I know if anyone else is listening to this, they probably think I'm odd for that, but it didn't fit in with my Christian beliefs. And so I never really considered the ramifications of having to come back. I actually always kind of took solace in the idea that, I'm glad there's only one life to live. I don't want to come back to this. And frankly, I still kind of feel that way. It's like, shoot, this sucked in some ways. In other ways, it was fantastic, magnificent. The interacting with my Sasquatch clan and peoples, and being open to some of the things that, anything they've chosen to show me, has made me consider the nature of being a conscious entity, and the fact that it makes more sense to me that we are here to learn some lessons as conscious entities, and that one of my biggest concerns is, because I feel like this lifetime I've made a lot of progress, and I don't want to lose that by having to come back again, right? So that's a selfish thing, I know, but good Lord. It was painful coming here. I don't want to do it again.
But now you believe that you do believe in reincarnation. Is that what you're saying?
I believe that's a strong possibility. I actually don't believe anyone knows for sure. There's evidence that of people who remember their past lives. You know, you can explain it away one way, but you can't really truly explain it away. The people who can describe how they died in their last life, and then they find people who corroborate that.
Yeah.
That's insanity. Right?
Unless, you know, they say we're all a collective and we can all tune into everybody's vibration, whatever. You could just be tuning into that particular vibration of that lifetime or whatever. Like I do believe we're reincarnated, and I do believe we have many, many lives and infinite beings and whatever, but there is other schools of thought that would kind of make sense too. If you believe that we're all like the big spider's web and we all feel, you know, whatever we think and do vibrates and it's picked up by everybody. And it could, that spider web could even contain past lives and future lives and just everything, you know, like we're just feeling, we're tuning into that particular vibration. Does that make sense?
Totally. And what my Sasquatch experiences have led me to is I'm open to all sorts of possibilities that I never would have been open to before.
Right.
And I now absolutely fully own that I don't know.
And
in any way that I assert that I know, I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, trust that energy. Trust that energy. Oh, by the way, do you know who's giving you these energy nudges? Like what you got today? Do you associate it with any particular individual?
No, it's a new floral aroma. In fact,
so it's still that other female. It's still that other female. You think?
No, it's a different one altogether. It's a more mature one.
So you've had 3.
This is my 3rd. Yes.
You're quite the ladies' man.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So here I am fully convinced of this. Sasquatch understand you better than you understand yourself. When you go out in those woods and you open yourself up to them, and they see and they know how to reach you in ways that you wouldn't be open to otherwise. So my experience growing up has always been negative male energy. All male energy is negative. And so that it makes sense to me that they would use the female energy to reach me, because I wouldn't necessarily reciprocate to the male energy the way I do the female energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You said they know you intimately or whatever. Do you feel, this is my experience, and it's a fact to me, they've proven it to me in so many ways with looking back on the glyphs and stuff that I've documented. Do you feel that they already know what you're going to do or what conclusion you're going to come to before you even formulate the thought? Have you ever had that experience? Because to me, it's a fact.
I have had that experience, but I'm not necessarily, I don't know what the limits are of that, right? I don't want to make a global blanket statement because I think that there are a lot of factors at play. Because life is like and I'm going to make this analogy, and it may not make sense to anyone but me, but in computer logic, you have something called a state machine, and everything has a particular state with attributes at any given time, and you make a decision or you choose a path and that state changes, right? And at any given time, there's a lot of potential states that you can be in, depending on which path you take. I think what the Sasquatch are able to do is see some number of those potentials, if not the exact one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that free will can change things for sure. I don't think everything's written in stone, but as you know, talking to you, I've talked to you many times, and I've proven it to myself. And that's why, I always document my glyphs, for instance.
Right.
There are so many times that I've looked back on, like I've come to an understanding of what a particular glyph means in 2020, say, and they'll start interacting with me according to that meaning right away because they know. But then I've looked back on old pictures when I'm doing a video or something. I'm looking up some of my old pictures and I say, what the heck? They knew 5 years ago what that meaning was for me. And they knew exactly when I was going to come up with that meaning. And that's not even theory for me. It's happened so many times that I just accept it for what it is.
So I think that so with glyphs for me, I think they think I'm kind of a moron with that. I think I am too. I am. No, because, okay, they have.
Joking, teasing you.
Well, I know, but
friends, so I haven't teased you too much, so I got to bug you a little bit.
I've got evidence to suggest that perhaps they do view me that way with regard to glyphs. Now they interact with me with glyphs all the time, and they're fantastic. And I've started taking pictures, but when I was early on in my glyph journey, they set up a glyph at the end of the trail that was a dead end, and they maintained it scrupulously in that shape for 3 months. And I knew it was a glyph. I recognized it was a glyph, but I didn't know what it meant. So one day I'm walking past the glyph and I get mind speak in my head, and it's all there was that. So I don't usually get tone with mind speak. I usually just get the words. This had tone. This had dummy kind of associated with it. That kind of a tone. It's like, that's the dead end, dummy. That's what that represents. The end of the trail.
Yeah.
3 months. I literally did not, and puzzling over it even. I actually considered it. Did not understand it. It took them telling me almost in exasperation, this is what it means. Okay.
Yeah. Just, do you remember when I had my one walks with four glyph, the stones?
Yeah, the circle.
I got that immediate knowing that one walks with four. I had the words in my head, spoken in my head, and I just knew it was my walk and my connection with them. But for some reason, one of the most obvious things of the whole thing was that I neglected to, when I was telling you about the circle of the four rocks up front. And you said, there's a circle there, right? And you knew the meaning. But my point is that we've talked about glyphs a lot, and you have had experience, like maybe it was the Y stick or the circle or something, but you considered some of the meanings or whatever, and then you went out. And I think this might have been one of those times when you went out and actually had where they interacted with you according to that symbol in a way that you understood, right?
It was actually the pi symbol.
Right. Okay.
And that one when I finally figured out, so for you, the Y stick is man, Sasquatch connected. They do, for me, the pi symbol, and it has to be in this particular configuration because they have different configurations for the pi symbol, which have meanings I don't understand. I don't know. But if on the left, they have the bigger, thicker leg, and on the right, they have the smaller, slender leg that's short, and then they have it connected at the top. That means that individual Sasquatch is connected to that individual human. And if they put something in the middle between those two legs, it means there's something between us.
Yeah.
So when I received my first heart, that's the meaning that came to me was man, Sasquatch connected with love between us.
Well, I've always said, I'm never going to go out there and tell people what a glyph means.
No, I know, because it's different. It's what you agree on.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you agree on with them. They take the agreement to heart and they start interacting with you according to that. So I'm not tired of it because I'm not tired of it. I don't know how many times when people have asked me, what does a glyph mean? I don't know what it means. I know what they mean to me.
For you.
I know what they mean to me, and you know what they mean to you. You've got to decide what they mean. And
right.
I just want to say you got a bunch of questions in chat, but I'm thinking that maybe you could go back and address them afterwards. Is that what you want to do, or do you want to address them?
If you want to read them, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Yeah, some of them are like I can't, multiple questions that I can't really see, but Damien Cott asked you one thing. He says you are communicating with the same clan, right?
Yeah, same clan all the time.
Okay. Okay, and then he's got some other stuff. Maybe just go back and after
Okay,
we
I'll go through and look.
put the video and just answer some of the questions. But that was interesting, and you've given me enough to work on that story now.
I really think so. My opinion for your for the way you put it in, I really think in order to give some validity to our interpretation that was them appearing as human, is you have to talk about that each one has an energy signature that's unique, that they have a floral signature that's unique,
Yeah.
and they actually will warn you before, at least they did me, before they change your life with mind speak. For me, it's like,
Yeah.
prepare to have your life changed forever.
I'm going to, I know I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to share the story with you and we will go over it and make adjustments as needed. Before I'll have you sign off on it before I include it in the book.
Okay, that's fair.
So I just wanted to say, who is this individual in the picture? Is that Talitha's husband, or do you know?
I don't actually know. I think that's the clan leader. I think that because Brian, he is enormous. Minimum of 14 feet tall, minimum. And for anybody who's listening who thinks that I'm exaggerating, where he's standing right there, I had my son-in-law go over there and stand in the exact same place. And then I have a 6-foot walking stick, and at the top of the walking stick, he's about 6 feet tall. And so his arms another probably 1.5 feet, 18 inches above him. And the length of the stick is 6 feet. And I tied a red rag, a bright red rag at the top of the walking stick, and had him hold it up. And I could just barely see the walking stick poke up. It'd be probably down around the upper part of his chest.
Wow.
So he's a big man. And the thing is, I've seen footprints in this area, but I've never seen his. I've never seen one that belongs to a Sasquatch that's easily 14 feet tall. Never. But I've seen the ones that are about the size of my feet, and I think those were Talitha's. She left those for me. Just,
you know, there's one thing I've often wondered, and I don't want to argue with what people think. But people always say there's a ratio between the size of the Sasquatch and the foot size. That is an impression. But, you know, haven't you seen some really short people with really huge feet before? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But okay.
Or really big people with small feet. I mean, I don't think that.
If you really want to think about it,
written in stone.
It isn't, because if you really think about it, they can appear as whatever they want to appear. They can leave whatever footprints they want to leave. And so they don't have to leave their actual footprints. They, you know, when they appear as a cougar or when they appear as a deer, you're going to see deer prints because that's what you expect to see, I think. I think the only time that you're legitimately seeing their prints as they actually appear is when you see the ones for the children, the babies. And I've seen those. I was walking through a bunch of ferns that I wasn't really even following a trail, but a bunch of sword ferns I was on a hillside, and there was one part of this hillside where the ferns had given away and there was some bare dirt, and right in that dirt was a footprint it was a perfect human footprint that big.
Yeah, little baby. I see little babies too. Matter of fact, one time, I think it might have been snow. I can't remember exactly the circumstances, but it was dead obvious that we saw a female walking along. We saw the female's footprints, or a young male. It could be a babysitter. And there was little baby footprints, but every once in a while you could see where the baby was picked up.
Yeah.
And then no baby prints, and then there'd be baby prints again, like picked up and put down kind of thing. Yeah, it was really, really cute. I think this is a very important point too. And then if you want to say anything else or think of anything else you want to talk about, we can. But I like the fact that you have no sense of smell generally. And yet, you know how I've always said that they can put any visual, audio, or sensory perception into your mind or group's mind, or one or two individuals, or half of them, or one of them, or whatever. So that really speaks to that ability when you were smelling something that generally you've got no ability to do, but you perceived it, you know?
Yeah. So I do have it's a kind of a funny little story.
Sorry, we're all out of time, Kevin. Thank you for joining. Go ahead. I'm just joking.
We went on again, no sense of smell. Same, it's in that vein. We went on a hike not far from our house to Hurricane Ridge, which is on the Olympic Peninsula, the northern end. And as we're hiking up that trail, my sense of smell came back with the wildflower floral aroma. And it turns, I really honestly think it was one of my Sasquatch friends. Because in retrospect, and it was a very public trail. There was literally hundreds of people.
Damien Cott has a question, and he says, maybe English isn't his first language because I don't really understand it too much, but a little bit. And no disrespect, but it's his first language too. So how you are interacting if you're not seeing and don't knowing?
Oh, hi, Damien. He's Polish.
Okay, cool, man.
All right. So, and Brian, you can take a cut at this too, because I'm going to explain it one way and it may make better sense from you. So, Damien, when you are in a room, if you walk into a room, you can sense other people's emotions. You can walk into a room where you're not expecting anything, right? And all of a sudden you walk in and you go, whoa, there's something wrong with this energy. It's really related to that. So if I'm not seeing, so Sasquatch interacts with me in a variety of ways, some of them very physical. For example, early on, it was through vocalizations. They would whistle or hoot or throw pine cones at me, or they actually did allow me to see them on a couple of occasions. But most of my meaningful interactions, the ones that actually changed my life, were ones that were all revolved around energy, indirect manipulation. I don't even want to use the word manipulation. Maybe adjustments, because
interaction,
time,
maybe
interaction.
Energy interaction.
What happens is over time, once you start to recognize when an individual, a Sasquatch individual, is interacting with you energetically, they start you out really slowly so that it becomes clear that they're the ones doing it, right? And then over time, it becomes a little more complex, until they're able to do things with you and you recognize, wow, that's that individual. I don't see them. I don't hear them. Maybe I smell them. But I definitely feel them. And the places, and Brian's alluded to this earlier, I don't know if you were watching, sometimes you feel it right actually in the pineal gland area. Sometimes you just feel it in your chest. Sometimes you feel like you're surrounded by it, like you're put into an envelope. So it's over time you learn how they interact, and then you start to recognize. And once you start to recognize, then you're off to the races.
Yeah, there's absolutely no question about it. Like one, like, excuse me, like that. When I used to get that third eye energy right away, or early on, it's more like a whole body energy or going across the chest or whatever. Now it's changed, but just about every time I would get that, there would be some kind of interaction of some kind. And the other thing, when you know that they're interacting with you, is, we've talked about thought placement. It's too big a subject to go into, but I'm just giving a few examples. But, like thought placement, I wonder if it's like this. And then so they place a foreign thought that's not your thought in your head, and you recognize it for that. And this has happened constantly with me, always happening. And then I'll look down on the forest path or whatever, right below my feet, and there's the answer in a cliff or in some form, or they'll give you thought, answer. That's definite communication, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's even 2 or 3 people involved in that answer. Sometimes it's immediate. Sometimes it's a little later down the road, like a week or 2 later or something, or sometimes over years. But you just have to, it's just basically, Damien, it's as solid and as concrete as, even more so than a real conversation or whatever, or a concrete experience, because it's just a repeated pattern, and the results are you just don't even question them, because it's not just a one-time kind of thing, it's a constant kind of thing.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments. So hopefully you were talking to
This turned into just me actually wanting to get together with you and getting the material for the story into almost like a pork and bean show minus the beans. But anyway, Go ahead. You want to make some comments?
Oh, well, no, like I said, I'm reading some of the comments here, and hey, thank you guys. These are fantastic comments.
Anybody, any comments about me?
No, I love your response to.
I'm joking. People got to know I got that kind of wry wit or whatever. I don't really mean that.
I love your response to Carter. Have you considered changing deodorant? That was a long time ago.
Well, that's just who I am, right? Carter is kind of like, he was a comedian. Did like a impromptu kind of, like, you remember that show where there were like 3 guys on stage and the audience would give them a scenario and then they would act it out or whatever? What's that called?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I was reading Jennifer Grace Watt.
Anyway, he was a comedian, just put it that way. So he understands, he likes that kind of humor. That's kind of our relationship. Yeah, have you considered changing your deodorant? Yeah. I got awful smell.
Oh, man. Anyway, that's my story, and I hope that it helps a little bit with because I couldn't write that up, Brian. I couldn't think of a way to make it cohesive, because I really think you have to tell at least 3 different things before you can even address the idea that they can show up as a Sasquatch. I mean, as a human, because it sounds so much like it belongs in Crazy Town that I hesitate to ever even tell that story. And I'm so glad that I had you as an outlet, because I still don't tell that story to anyone else usually.
Hey man, it's absolutely definite. There's no other explanation for it.
No, there really isn't.
There really isn't. So, that's might be the woo on steroids, but it's just the way it is. I mean, it's in the woo and in the supernatural and the stuff that we have to step outside of our box to consider is where the real learning is, like that's with any learning. And I mean, all great inventors, all great creators, all great thinkers, they never learned anything inside of a closed box of beliefs or whatever. They had to step outside of it. It's the same thing with Sasquatch.
You take a new look. You got to take a new look with open eyes. And the minute you become judgmental and you mock or become derisive is the minute you've lost it. You no longer are on that path.
I got a question from Damien. He says, "Can we see some picture, Brian? What would you like?" Oh, pictures of Kevin's findings. Do you have a picture you can share?
So, Damien, behind me right there is the clan leader. And I don't know if you can see him. There's his mouth. There's his eye. His nose is right there. And I have a video. Actually, I've got 3 videos that I've done of that particular. Okay, I don't want to call it a sighting because I actually never saw that he was there. I just had gotten a new camera and I was in my phone. It is a 48 megapixel camera. And I thought, oh, cool. I'm going to take, I really want to go down to the woods and test this out just to see how well it does because it wasn't very good lighting and all that. And when I got home and I started looking at the video clips, this particular one, I was shown. Because I don't look for Sasquatch in my videos. I just don't because I don't know. It just was something that wasn't important to me. So I've got the pictures of him, and then I have lots and lots and lots of pictures of glyphs. And if you're interested in pictures of glyphs, Brian and Tom Cantrell wrote a book on glyphs, and they present a fantastic array of things. Mine pales in comparison. So I have some favorites. One of my favorites is they made a little person out of a salal leaf, and they actually gave it hair and a little body and a backpack like I was wearing, and they put a circle around it. It was pretty cool.
I was just trying to pull up a couple pictures to show Damien. So say something while I'm muted.
Oh, say something.
Say something intelligent.
Oh, see, now there we've got a problem.
Yeah, I know. That's a challenge, but
so my dog is sitting here actually asking me to go outside to do her business. We just got her fixed a week ago, and so she's recuperating from surgery. And
can you wait 5 minutes?
I can. Hopefully she can too.
Can she? Hopefully. Okay, just give me a second. Maybe talk about how your life, we ask everybody, seeing as this did kind of turn into a pork and bean show, minus the beans, how has your life changed since you've been, since you've been introduced to Sasquatch? And I'm just going to get a couple pictures to show Damien while you're doing that.
Oh, excellent. So I alluded to this before. I became, so when I was young, I had all sorts of bizarre experiences that my parents didn't help me understand because that wasn't who they were. And so I suppressed whatever supernatural stuff was happening in my life. And I went and became an engineer. And consequently, I ended up as a very not happy person. I got married, had kids, love my wife, love my kids. They're fantastic. And they turned out great in spite of me. I ended up losing my brain. In 2013, I was diagnosed with early onset dementia, which robbed me my career. And then I sat in my chair for about a year before I was diagnosed and for about 2 years after, just depressed. And I didn't even get up. I got up to eat, use the bathroom, and that's it. And I wanted to die. I'd given up on life. I actually was watching some YouTube videos because I think it was hashtag Project Go and See by Colorado Bigfoot, Snow White Bigfoot, I think it was, and then Christopher Noel's site. I don't remember what his name of his channel is.
The First Noel?
Huh?
The First Noel.
Yeah. And so I live, like I mentioned, I live in the middle of a Sasquatch clan. They run all around my place. And they spend most of their time further away because that's where the managed forest is. And there's literally 4,000 acres of woods. with lots of lakes and deer and all sorts of wildlife. Anyway, so I thought to myself, well, I live here. I may as well go look to see. Why not? I mean, I got nothing to lose. I'm bored. So I walked literally 100 yards into some woods on my neighbor's property because I had permission to go there. We're good friends. I've lived here for 15 years and discovered a symmetrical X that was enormous, enormous. And then I discovered some ground compartments, is all I can say, that had been created at the base of this large stump that looked like they'd been used for like nesting sites. And that's the way I viewed it at the time, was they were very, very flesh and blood, gorilla-like, maybe more advanced. I'm ashamed to think of how I thought of them then, but it's been a process. Then how am I a different person? They gave me an interest. They reignited my interest in the world and in my relationships, that my life wasn't over from being diagnosed as losing my brain. And they made me I started operating from my heart, not my head. And instead of being unhappy, after Talitha did her healing on me, I experienced a sense of peace and calm and love for other people that honestly I'd never experienced before. I always felt like people were more of a hassle than anything else. Seriously.
Like our prime minister, a waste of space.
Right.
That's what he calls us, a waste of space. Well, anybody who's a critical thinker, I mean.
Right. And so it just opened me up. So I am way more open to pretty much everything. And I'm a much more loving and accepting person than I ever was before. And I still have my moments of being judgmental, but I love people now. I have a lot more compassion for others. I have a lot bigger heart for their suffering or for their journey, but I also have a lot better understanding that it is their journey. And I can't, the Sasquatch showed me that I'm one of the reasons I've experienced.
Yeah. The no judgment thing I'm getting from that, right?
Right. One of the reasons why I experienced such a hard life is because I'm an empath in many ways, and a very deep empath. And I didn't understand that I was absorbing the energy of the people around me, their unhappiness, their anger, their frustration. When they showed me that change, it freed me up to be able to observe what I was experiencing dispassionately and not look at it as these are my emotions. I'm angry, or I'm frustrated, or I'm sad. Turns out I'm not. I'm actually a pretty happy person. So anyway, that they've changed my life so fundamentally, I don't even recognize the person I was.
Yeah. How long does it take you to take your dog out?
5 minutes max, because she can't go out for very long because she's got an incision on her stomach. So give me a second.
Sure, Damien, some of these pictures, and then come back if you want to say goodbye. It's up to you.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Excuse me. Here, Damien, this is from a lot of you people, folks have seen these pictures before, and I just picked 4 random. So I apologize if I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these before, but this is a rock, a big boulder that is in an area where Susan and I went camping, and we spent a couple of days there, and we've had like gifts of raven feathers. We've had supernatural experiences there. First time or place where I actually saw a Ree in person. They did stuff like they took pictures on and off of our cameras. Actually, they took them off in this instance, but that were sensitive for some reason. 5 separate pictures of the same thing. Actually, it was the raven gift feather. But if you look at this whole top of this rock is the actual face of my clan leader. And, you know, other people other than myself can verify this who have seen him. You can see his 2 eyes here, see his nose, his nostrils, his big smile because he's got a really big heart and a great sense of humor. So this just, there we go, just speaks of their amazing abilities. Like, this is obviously a face. I mean, you can see his cheeks here even, you know, lips, upper part of his lip, 2 eyes, the nose, even nostrils. It's incredible. And this is actually, like I said, the place where I've actually seen RE. So this just kind of speaks to their amazing abilities, their supernatural abilities, and that they're much more evolved and advanced than we are. Here's an example of a glyph. And like I said, I mentioned earlier in the show that they know what I'm going to come up with as far as a meaning, even before I do. This particular glyph was taken maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And, you know, when I come up with a meaning or whatever, like, it's just not I see a couple and, you know, I'm making up what they mean. No, it's continuous seeing these glyphs that I have a meaning for, presented to me in the context of that meaning. So it just becomes undeniable. And this part here, this oval thing here, actually represents my connection to my wife. I call it the fish glyph, and it speaks about our connection. And when we got married, and just before we got married, we were getting dozens of these, like dozens of them showing up before and after. And it was just basically in celebration of our union, because they actually brought us together like they do many people that they want together. And they've told me that they want, that we have work to do for them. So they're very supportive of that union. They've told me that in glyphs, mind speak, energy, in many different ways. And this little leaf over here is the female Rajase left this because she had a very creative, like a feminine kind of touch. She would leave little things like this. That's why I know that she left it. It's just kind of a tender, sensitive little touch. But the thing is that before I knew what the Y stick meant, which to me is man, Sasquatch connected, I took this picture. And like I said, I've got dozens of other ones where I can look back and say, oh, they already knew what the meaning was going to be. When I first took this picture, I did not know what this meant. You can see that there's a Y curved right into the main body of the glyph. And it means man, Sasquatch, the shaft is connected. So the meaning is very in line with the entire message at that time, which is Brian and Susan are connected. Man and Sasquatch are connected. We are connected to you. All one, all connected kind of theme. So like I said, this Y was in there years and years and years before I understood what it meant. So that's kind of interesting. Here's my clan leader himself. This picture was taken when one day I was going in and I was getting this flood of loving energy. I was actually brought to tears. It was so strong. That's why I say why they can connect with you with energy. It was so strong and beautiful that I was actually literally weeping. Tears were rolling down my face. And I invited RE, my clan leader, to actually visit me. And so I was just walking around and taking pictures. And I didn't see him when I initially took it because, like Kevin, I don't take pictures of them on purpose. I take pictures of their glyphs, their structures, just things that catch my eye, just for teaching purposes. And because I enjoy taking pictures, something I like to do, you know, like a hobby. But in any event, a couple of weeks after the fact, I was just walking around that day when RE greeted me with this energy and I invited him to visit me. And Sue said, Brian, I think RE's in your picture. And she noticed it first, and here he is in a partially cloaked state. You can see the patty kind of nose from the Patterson film, the eyes, the head, and his big body. Like, this guy's about over 12 feet tall, probably over 1,200 pounds. And he's just a massive figure. And most people can see him. But like I said, he's partially cloaked. But I mean, when I looked at it, when Sue pointed it out to me, my wife, it was just like, oh, wow, no question. And most people can see him there. I don't know if you can. I'm talking to everybody, but specific to Damien because he wanted to see some pictures. So there's my clan leader, RE, and he did visit me. Hopefully you can see that. That's one of my favorite pictures. And this talks about their support and whatever, and how they support us. When my wife moved from Oregon to Washington State to be closer to me, and we're still not actually together because of the stupidity in the world today, and that's the only way I can describe it. I'm not going to get into it. I'll go on a rant. But one of the first days that she moved into her new place, she was in her kitchen. And let me just back up a little bit. The Sasquatch will come to my house and leave me glyphs, messages outside by my car. And I'm not the only person. They've done that with Sue and other people. And they connect with us all in our own different, unique kind of way. But so anyway, Sue was just fresh into her new place. I just basically moved in there. And she was in the kitchen doing some stuff, and she just left and was only gone for a few minutes. And when she came back, this was placed right on the floor by the sink. It's on her, by her window there now. She placed it there to take a picture. But it was on the floor right by her sink where she had just been washing dishes or something. So definitely could not have missed it. And what it was is a little figure that they wove of a little, looks like a lady. It represents her. And it looks like it's made of some kind of reeds or something like that. And it's just a loving message that we're here with you, we love you, that kind of thing. And like I said, it looks like a woman to me. And they just left that for her out of their heart, out of their love for her. I'm getting energy when I say that. They're confirming that they love her. Just out of the gracious, beautiful, supportive people that they are. And what's also interesting about this is that it was a little bit wet, as if it had just been brought in from outside just before she found it, which I'm sure it was. So, like I said, she was in the kitchen a few minutes later, she's back, and this was there when it wasn't there before. So there's a few examples of some pictures, and maybe it addresses your question a little bit about how they connect with us, whatever, too. I mean, it's so deep and such a diversified subject, but I think that you can probably see that there's connection going on there. All right. You're back.
I am. I'm looking for a picture.
This is turning into a regular pork and bean show, you know that? I figured we were going to be on like for an hour, and then.
Yeah, me too.
Not that I have anything to do, mind you, but.
This is one of my favorites.
Oh, do I have to make you?
Yeah.
It'd be a good picture.
Oh, dude, this is a fantastic picture.
Okay. You are free to show it whenever you're ready. Or are you still looking?
Oh, there's two of them I want to show. I found one of them.
This is show and tell hour on the Pork and Bean Show, minus pork. I mean, minus beans. Or some people might think minus pork. Depends on which way you interpret it. But hey, Mr. Beans, we love you. We miss you.
We do miss you.
If I had known it was going to turn into a circus here, we would have invited you. Well, I did invite him, actually. I sent him the link.
So you did. You sent him the link, didn't you?
I did. By the way, we've got another show on Thursday. Well, Kevin's looking for that. We've got our old friend, alumni Carter Chart coming back. You having any success?
Well, yes, on some of them, but on the one I really want to show you, it's the one where they made the little face out of the salal leaf.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the one that I've got where they made a face out of a leaf? They cut holes for the eyes and the mouth and everything.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to show it, because I know you have
It's
one.
just so creative. Well, see if can you
Oh,
talk
there
while you look? Or, oh, you got it?
Yeah, just a minute. Let me get back to
I don't have to show mine.
share screen. Pow.
Welcome back. I guess I'm gonna have to do that Welcome Back Carter theme song when he comes back on again. Well, you're looking for that. I'll see if I can. Ooh. Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
is that mine?
no, that's mine.
You
So
freaked me out for a minute because it looks exactly like
I,
mine. And I thought,
I
what
know.
the heck?
So you need to find yours, and then you can show yours too.
What the heck? No, that flipped me right out because I thought that was mine for a second. And I'm saying, what? I didn't find it. What's it doing there?
I was walking up the trail, and this wasn't here. And then I came back through on the same day, and it was, and I met no one else on the trail. So I want you to see the detail here, though. There's hair. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
There's the head, which is the obvious part. There's arms, there and there. There's a body. There's a leg. There's a leg. And that's my backpack. And there's the circle right there.
Now I'm definitely going to find mine because it's insane.
Right? So hold on.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you want to say anything more about this?
No, I want to find the other one because.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to see if I can find mine. Can you talk and look at the same time so that there's no
I'm not
dead-
looking. I'm just going to show the ones I found. These are my favorites.
Oh, okay, you've already got them. Okay.
So this one is a really good representative example of the pie glyph. And again, this appeared on the trail in between transits back and forth. And this is a new kind because what they did is they put the connection here, they put me here, they put them there, but this rock is between here and here, and then they decorated it with a leaf over here. And there's modifiers that I don't understand that I think are part of it, but I'm not sure. So all I can say is this thing caught my attention so hard when I was walking. So for example, I think this right here is part of it because it's peeled.
I would say so, yeah, because it's peeled, yeah. That's very typical.
Yeah. And then.
So hold on a minute. Are you saying that, okay, it doesn't matter. I can still ask my question. So you're saying that you walked in and it wasn't there and you walked out and it was there?
Yeah. And then this one right here is actually a raised structure.
Oh, wow.
That appeared on the main trail going into an area where the energy is, like I've mentioned before, absolutely unreal. And right underneath this, I'm going to leave this here for a second. I actually have to get that. So I'm going to mute myself if I can.
Okay.
Hello. It sure is.
I will look for mine while Kevin is doing that.
Yep.
I'm going to turn my microphone off, guys.
Hey, you made it so I couldn't share. You're muted, Dave or Brian.
I was trying to take advantage of that so that I could find mine because I can't find mine when you're sharing. But okay, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Those are the three I wanted to show. Those are just representative samples of the kind of things they show me.
Now, see, for me, that would have meant friendship welcome from the clan of RE. There was big action the A there. What was your meaning for that?
Well, okay, underneath that A, they had cleared out all the brush, and I like they'd been sitting there, and they probably were watching the trail. because, and further down the trail, so this is right next to a beaver lake, a lake that was formed because some beavers went ahead and dammed it up. And it's like a marsh and a lot of waterfowl and stuff like that. And the trail goes right along the bank of this lake. And as you are about halfway along the trail along this lake, they put up a welcome X, which I didn't ever get a picture of, and it's gone now. And then not more than 100 yards, less than 100 yards, probably 50 yards later is this A that I was showing you.
You've got to keep talking. Well, look, you don't see, if you don't see a picture come up, you've got to keep saying something.
Well, I'm okay. That is not good. I am not a host. I am not good at this.
Hi, this is Beef Wellington, and this is the Beef and Pork Show. You can do that. I'm trying to find, I am trying to, well, actually, I guess I can talk at the same time and look at the picture, but I am trying to, I really want to find out one of my leaf, because it is so, I mean, if this doesn't speak to people, I don't know what will, because they're, you know, two different clans, two different, totally different areas, and virtually the identical thing. What are the chances of that?
I swear our clans are related, Brian.
Well, I think that they're, because we've been working with each other and we've been finding out, you know, having revelations that we share, like, you know, like when, you know, with the cloaking, or I mean, shape-shifting into people kind of thing or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. They're definitely working with us in some kind of capacity together.
Oh, for sure.
There's no question about that. I really, really hate it when I'm looking for something and I can't find it.
So you're looking
really want to find this one.
You're looking for your picture of the leaf that's in a person?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable, the comparison between them. By the way, I want, if you can send me that picture of your leaf, I wouldn't mind doing a little, actually, I might even write a story about it in the book.
All right.
Because I think it's just phenomenal how similar they are. It's pretty compelling, really.
Oh,
I hate it when I can't find something I'm looking for.
yeah, computers made things hard.
You got another favorite story you want to, shorty you want to share with us?
Well, actually, I do want to talk about one thing, but it really has nothing to do with interaction, except how it feels when interaction stops, or
Go for it.
or takes a pause.
Go for it. Well, you know what I think about that? I always thought, in my experience, that's a simulation period where, you know, you're not, because you have to, it's such a deep learning or whatever that sometimes you have to simulate what you learned. And then when my experience, when I come out of those, the simulation periods or the quiet periods, I have a much bigger, much faster, broader knowing. So, but go ahead, talk about your experience.
Oh, so I think that what I experienced was different than an assimilation period. They're back now, by the way. It's different, but they're back. About, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before, I got a bunch of visits at my house all on the same night, and I couldn't figure out why. And they were all giving me an energy signature and like a love envelope, and then they were gone. It was like a one by one, and then they disappeared. It's like they left. I think they were saying goodbye. And then for the last year and a half, it's not that there's been no interaction, but it's been really quiet. Where I will get a glyph or two and a really muted energy floral greeting, but there's no effusive greeting. There's no like you're part of the clan. I mean, I almost felt like I had lost my family. That was horrible. And I didn't have a sense of why that happened. I still don't. I guess I really had to come to a place where I let it go and just appreciated it for what it was. But that was the hardest thing that I think I've ever done. And I'm not overstating it. I've gone through some pretty hard things. There it is.
My mic's still on. You were scaring me. Not allowed to. Is that it? I'm having a hell of a time finding that picture. I don't know why.
Huh. It's not letting me send you that picture.
Why can I not find that?
Bizarre.
Oh, here it is. Good. I found it.
Yay, Brian.
Yay. Now, if this doesn't flip you out, I wish we could, well, we will get them side by side at some point. But if this does not blow people's minds, I'll try to remember what Kevin's leaf picture looked like with the eyes cut out in the mouth. Okay. Yay, I found it. Actually, can you have that one on we'll bring it up again in a second, okay?
I'm trying to send it to you, but it's not wanting to send.
No, let's put it back up on screen share again after I show mine. Okay.
All right, just a sec.
So I'm going to show mine first. So look at the similarity. I mean, look at that. That's not a coincidence.
No. Yours doesn't have a nose, mine does.
Okay, so yours is a little nicer. I mean, you got to win once in a while.
I know, right? Because you have some fantastic glyphs.
But here's my point. Look at, they have a sense of humor. I've had smiley face gloves and everything. This to me is like, just speaks of their humor, and humor is also speaks of intelligence or whatever. So it's, there's a lot of components to it, but it almost, similar kind of shape leaf, the eyes, the mouth. I mean, is that remarkable or what?
That is amazing. Let me put mine back up and
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so just everybody who's watching, just keep this image in your head and then just look at how it lines up so perfectly with Kevin's and tell me that it's a coincidence. Can you bring yours up now? There we go. I mean, good God. Yeah, you got a nose on yours.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe because you have no sense of smell. They had to
show
it. But anyway, isn't that remarkable? Yeah, when I first seen yours, I thought, I got freaked out a little bit because I thought, how did they put that?
Okay, so don't lose my picture because here it is. It's slowly sending to you.
Well, I'm looking at the one on here, but you guys can see the pork and beans show how just remarkable. There was a funny occurrence that happened actually with Sue. I remember she was we were talking about some people, like I'm not going to name any names or whatever, but sometimes people go too far down the rabbit hole and they lose their discernment, so to speak. But then again, maybe the rabbit hole is just deeper for them. Maybe, I'm not going to say that for sure, but from my it seems that way. And anyway, so she was talking about blood on the walls or something, Sue, and or something in a conversation, all of a sudden we're on your Facebook where you can type stuff in, like,
Mhm.
on the top of the little thing where you type your thing, it said something about blood on the walls or something. Exactly what she was thinking. There was a comment on there that she did not put on there. Now, maybe it's just Facebook guys messing with her, but I don't think so. It didn't feel that way. Didn't feel that way to me. Did you fall down?
No, I moved my laptop because I'm gonna have to turn the light on. Can you give me half a sec?
I can give you as much time as you want. So what do you think, guys? Isn't that amazing, those leaves? I mean, if that doesn't speak of connection and continuity and all that stuff, I mean, it's wild. I was literally when I first seen Kevin, I was like, what? How did my picture get up there? Thought it and they put it there. I mean, that's I mean, I've experienced stuff like that, but anyway, the similarity is uncanny. So I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys, obviously you can see the similarity, which is remarkable. What are you doing? Cleaning your window? How do you get your chair out there in the woods anyway?
It's just special. Hey, I actually have to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this has been fantastic, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share that with you. That was a lot of fun.
I should have just made a pork and beans episode, man, because we've been going on for 3 hours.
I know, right?
So,
Now, just imagine you're going to have to watch through this a couple times to actually extract anything useful for your story.
Yeah. And, well, it's not worth, no. It's not even going in my book now that I heard it. It's kind of,
Yeah.
No, but I will, like I said, I will have you sign off on it because it's an important story to you. So I will let you look at it and,
it's critical in my understanding of who the Sasquatch people are. That's how important it is.
Yeah. Okay, so on behalf of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest man who is in exile right now, Frank Oliver Baines, this has been, well, is this the Pork and Bean Show or is it Conversations with Port Cunningham? Because I've done a few of those too.
I think it's Conversations with Pork.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a Conversations with Port Cunningham. So on behalf of Conversations with Port Cunningham, I'd like to thank Kevin Royce for stopping in and sharing that story with me. And, or sometimes we call him Beef Wellington. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I was hoping you forgot.
Beef Wellington. Okay, guys. Well, thank you,
right,
Kevin, for coming, and thank you everybody for watching. And Kevin, maybe you might want to go and check some of those comments out and answer them in a little more detail if you want.
Yeah,
Thanks
if anybody has any questions, just let me know. I'll go back through and see if there's any in the comments, and I'll answer as many.
And I'll make sure I send you Kevin's personal phone number. And
absolutely.
He's usually up around 2 or 3 in the morning, so that's the best time to call.
My wife will appreciate it.
So, thank you, buddy. Thanks for coming. Thanks for everybody for watching. This was not planned, but turned out good actually.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Bye now.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together?
Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather.
Happy trails to you till we meet again. Some trails are happy ones,
Others are blue.
it's the way you ride the trail that counts. Here's a happy one for you. Happy trails to you.
they hand me down. I'll make out a smile though I wear a frown, and I'm not gonna take it all lying down, 'cause once I get started I go to town. 'Cause I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. Are you? I'm not like everybody else. I don't wanna live my life like everybody else. And I don't wanna get a job like everybody else. And I would say that I feel fine. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. Oh, darling, you know that I love you true. I'll do anything that you want me to. Confess all my sins like you want me to. But there's one thing I will say to you. I'm not like everybody else. 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 I will say that I feel fine. I will say that I'm surprised. And I don't wanna get a job. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. If you all want me to settle down, slow up and stop all my running around, do everything like you want me to, there's just one thing I will say to you. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else.